too much now, Rick.
Oh, we're on now? Hey, we're on right now. And who's that good-looking guy? It looks like Santa Claus in there. Oh, that's me. Got the kayfabe bald spot in the back, but I used to have the beard all those years. I'd have to put the beard darkener on there. But now I'm just so hot now. I'd probably be a teen idol. A lot of hot young women want me, maybe some hot young men, but no, I don't swing that way. Well, I guess if you rented me, I guess I could for just a short amount of time. Lilas is here today. Got the haircut now.
Got it all cut
Beard
off.
all trimmed, looking good, looking
Once
young.
a year.
Whether you need it or not.
Did you play the music, Rip?
How you do that?
We're on, Rip.
Okay, we're on.
We're on.
There's the thing that Rock said.
Well, I gotta read it right now. We're actually live on a show right now. God damn. 3 people watching today.
Well, they're probably going to tune in.
Yeah, you lost the vote this week. First time you've lost the vote on who people wanted to see on here. Last week you dominated Les Thatcher and David Marquez. Today, when I put the poll on YouTube, we had the most votes we've ever had.
On what?
On any poll on YouTube. When I put the poll on YouTube, I said, who are you most excited to see today?
Gotta be Stephen P. New.
Rip Rogers, 17%.
Oh, Stephen P. New. I knew that right
Stephen
away.
P. New. Well, I'm trying to say it here. Stephen P. New. Last week you won. By a landslide, you won last week.
3 people.
Stephen P. New, 79%. Dan Matha, 5%. 473 votes. Most votes of a poll on YouTube that we've ever had.
We put a lot of stuff out on it.
Oh, shit. You didn't put anything out. I sent you all that stuff. You didn't tweet any of it.
You lying motherfucker.
You retweeted finally one of mine.
First of all,
you put Dan Matha's thing from Instagram. You put my thing and said, look at this from Facebook. I got to teach you how to do that. I send you.
That's it. No, you send me
I send you everything.
No, I know, but you sent me on the stuff. When you said it on there, it didn't have, you could retweet it on there.
I'm not talking about retweeting. I'm talking about on there. Like when I send you this, why don't you just tweet that out and say, hey, Dan Matha, come listen to him. You're like, every week, you're like, hey, you're going to make some of that stuff. And then I do, and you don't use it. So it's like, why am I making this shit if you're not going to use it?
Oh, okay.
Stephen P. New, look. Why don't you tweet that out and say, Stephen P. New?
How many times did I fucking have to put it on there?
Well, you put his video on 2 days ago. Listen, you tweet about your whatever sometimes you'll tweet 99 tweets in a row. So do Stephen P. New 99 times. Something that's going to draw for us. I think it'd be awesome. I think you did one Stephen P. New tweet 2 days ago, the video.
Well, if I put stuff on there, then it loses of what comes up on top. Isn't that correct? So I want to keep certain things on top.
You can do it the next day, though. You can tweet the tweet the next day.
How do you tweet it when it says I've already retweeted it and it's got a color on, so I can't retweet it again?
Or like all my tweet. You could have retweeted like my tweets. I think you did one maybe, but you're the one with 25,000 followers. I have 400 followers. It doesn't do me shit good to. The only reason I tweet anything is so you could possibly retweet it.
Okay, now we'll look at this today. I put that on there again.
Yeah, Dan Matha, and then look at that tweet right there. And then you have to click on nobody. Number one, nobody's going to click on that thing. And then it takes you to.
I got the fucking.
And then it takes you to Instagram. I mean, just look at the visual of this tweet. That's your tweet right there. So people, when they're scrolling through Twitter, they're not going to do jack shit with that tweet.
Okay, see how many different things I'm putting on here?
Yeah, 3 of Dan Matha. I'm talking about Stephen P. New.
Okay, there. Is he fucking there?
Right, 2 days ago, what I said.
Okay, so I wanted it to stay at the top like.
But it doesn't stay. You got 3 other tweets after that. Why is that one going to stay at the top if you've tweeted 3 times?
Oh, in other words, I'm supposed to tweet one goddamn thing and then not fucking tweet anymore.
No, you tweet one on Wednesday morning, one on Wednesday night, one on Thursday morning, one on Thursday night.
Who's that right there?
Yeah, 3 days ago. I know.
Okay, now who's that right there?
Yeah, look at that tweet. Yeah, look at this on Facebook. That's your tweet.
Wait a
Look
minute.
at this post on Facebook. That's your fucking
Wait a
tweet.
minute. Who's the
Now look at that.
Wait a minute.
Now you got to. Yeah, you think people are going to do all that? To
Well,
go
there it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Well, who's the
everybody's going to go and do that.
Who's the producer and director?
Well,
of this?
my God, you're Mr. Twitter.
Huh?
You're Mr. Twitter. You ought to be able to tweet a picture.
Tweet a picture.
Yeah, look at this nice picture I sent to you.
Yeah.
So you just tweet this picture and say,
Well, I got
Stephen P. New, baby, coming on fire. You never even used it.
There's all three of them fucking right there.
I get it, but this picture, you never used it.
You don't want them.
I do want him. Yeah, I do.
I want them people
100%.
to see three motherfucking things.
Well, you can tweet that too. Don't act like now all of a sudden you got to leave one thing at the top or whatever you're
one
saying.
thing at the top.
Yeah, you said, "Oh, I don't want to tweet again. It won't stay at the top or whatever you just said."
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll have a Twitter class after the show, or well, actually, probably won't. We got three shows today. Hey, was that a whole thing on TV? Were we just doing that on live TV today? Don't get no better than that.
But I did wait past 30 seconds before I cut.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's all. That's
yeah.
the main thing.
Ian Lemon in the house. A lawyer hasn't been this over since I read A Time to Kill. I tell you what, man, Stephen P. New has been all over everywhere. It's amazing how much traction that guy has right now. Do you think he knows he's as over as he is right now?
No, he's so humble. He's just a little kid.
I mean, he is on fire, man.
Steve P. New, motherfucking baby. What the hell? Don't get any better than this.
Heavy D in green says, I wish I could stick around for the live feed. I have to go back to work. Who works, man? Quit that job.
You don't have a rich old lady like you.
Definitely my favorite show on YouTube. Thank you, Heavy D. Appreciate that. Pinyahaver in green in the house, our longest living member. Him and Michael Costello, I think, are tied. Live, baby. Yeah, we're live. Sorry. Yeah. George Jetson. Hello for my flying car. Stephen Key says Rip looks like bad Santa. I like that. That is true, man.
I do look like a bad
You
Santa,
do look like,
I?
yeah. You won't even have to get the fake beard if you're Santa this year.
Uh-uh.
Virgil Sandig. I may have to watch the recorded version because of work. Man, a lot of people work on Fridays. But I've got a question for Stephen. If there's a non-disparagement, that's a too damn big a word for me,
What's
clause.
That? Non-disparagement. What the hell's that mean?
Probably like you can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I think probably is what that means. But it says, is it effective for life? You know what I was going to ask, and maybe I shouldn't say this right now, but I'm going to anyway. Who is Ace Steele's wife? She apparently was a wrestler or is a wrestler. Do you know who she is?
Yeah, she's always down there. She referees for Dave Marquez when we was in Louisville.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Was she ever a wrestler? Like, I mean, I'm sure she's trained. Do you know her?
Well, I just talked to her because she's always there with Ace.
Yeah.
When we were there.
All right. It hurts me when you guys argue. Well, you should see us when the camera's not on.
This is tame.
Penny Haver, just amazing. Rip is on social media. I had to confer with some OVW guys. It was really him at first. Yeah. I agree. But then sometimes he'll act like he knows everything on there. And then other times he acts like he doesn't have a clue.
I know FA. Fuck off. Are you fucking ribbing me? No, when you sent me that thing, I said, oh, fuck, there ain't a retweet thing on there. What the fuck do I do now?
You should always be able to retweet my tweet, shouldn't you?
No, well, the thing it had, it didn't have the retweet. It had share or something else, but it didn't have the retweet thing on there. So I didn't know what the official rules, how to get retweet on there.
I don't know if there's official rules, but we are supposed to talk in the mic. I know that part of everything.
Okay.
Roy Fox, I'm here for Rip and Lila's arguments. Well, you're at the right place, Roy. Rip is the man. Who is more over, Rip or Stephen P? Well, I don't know if you just joined us, OP Savage 2000, but I put out a poll on YouTube, and apparently Stephen P. New is more over because he beat Rip by a landslide. A landslide, Rip.
Well, hell,
who people wanted to see
if I was a
today.
fan, I'd fight Stephen P. New too. What the fuck? You can see my old fucking ass on here every goddamn week, right?
Yeah.
What do I do? Pick my fucking face, get the hair out of my. Well, what give them their money. It's a Christmas spectacular. It's Christmas spectacular.
Yeah, no shit, man. What did that last in the whole time? You're talking like this. You got your hand here talking like this.
That's normal.
And then you're pulling on your whatever you call it, your thing the whole time. Then you're picking at your arm and then you're hunched over. And every time
or I fall asleep,
and then I can't cut anything up on you because what happened? I thought I had this where you were more in. Are you slunched over today, or I thought I had this where you were taller for a minute, like a couple weeks.
Must have got shorter
a couple weeks ago. Hey, I didn't really plug anything of Ace Steel on all the stuff I cut up. I feel really bad about it, so I'm going to plug a couple of his things right now. Ace Steel, the Wrestling Perspective Podcast. Go check it out. I know it's on YouTube. It's with the lead singer, I think it is, from Rancid. It's like a heavy metal group, Rip, and I think they do some wrestling talk on there. And then in case you haven't gotten it, I know Rip has it. It's a little blurry on there, but the Aces Place t-shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com. He's got a bunch of shirts out there, so go check it out. Help out Ace Steel for being such a great guest on the show. One of those things I clipped up, Rip, has 28,000 views on it. Biggest we've had.
Greatest in many, many months, or greatest ever?
Ever.
Oh,
best we've ever had means ever.
Okay, about on the poll today. It was Stephen P. Stephen P.
He smoked you, man.
Oh, excuse me.
What about it?
Well, you could only see me fucking how many times?
You just said that.
Week. Yeah.
Yeah, you just said that. You already used that as an excuse. You're going,
but I was on a roll.
Oh, okay, go.
I just won't even stay on.
Well,
I'll get off my roll.
You just said that though. You just said like you can see me here every week.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what's your excuse for winning last week then? You won by a landslide last week.
What? I don't believe you.
Oh, you did? Yeah. No. Over Les Thatcher. Look at that. 327 votes. Rip Rogers, 67%. Les Thatcher, 24%. David Marquez, 9%. See? You won by a landslide.
I guess I was over.
Yeah. There you go. Since you're over, maybe.
Well, I mean, I hit a home run that day, and I struck out 3 times a day, right? So let's just leave it at that.
Since you're over, maybe somebody will go to ProWrestlingTees.com.
I don't think I'm that over.
Pick up one of your shirts. Got a couple of them on there. Or you could, help me out a little bit in the process and get one of those Wrestling with Rip Rogers official show.
Yeah, but my
the official show shirt.
My pro wrestling t-shirt. I don't even think I got any money in it for fucking years. They probably just been.
I just gave you. I gave 2 weeks ago. I gave you $20.
But what was that from Pro Wrestling Tees?
Yeah, part of whatever. I guess it wasn't 2 weeks ago. Last time we got paid, $20 of it was from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I even
broke it down for you and told you what.
But hell, I got to remember it.
What? Yeah. And what else we got? Look at that. Look at all this stuff I'm plugging for you, Rip. Okay, this is all new. Look at that Hustler Rip Rogers up there with the pink and white lettering. The book on pro wrestling, Amazon.com. That's when you had a nerd haircut like mine. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. And I lost my jacket. That $3 jacket, but I got my Danny Cage Monster Factory T-shirt on underneath that, the green one.
Real bummer there. Hey, I got a favor to ask everybody out there in TV land. This is the one. If you go to our YouTube channel, I'm sure most of you watched it. It has like 27,000 views on it right now. If you can go to this video and maybe share it, something like that. Watch it again. Make some comments. There's some positive and negative comments. Maybe even go against some of the people that are making negative comments on there. Help us out a little bit on that. Plus, that'll get the video going back out and running some more. So, Ace Steel on AEW Brawl. If you go back through our videos, it's got a ton of views. Go back, watch it, comment on it. Help us make that thing have a chance maybe to go viral, Rip, they say. Viral. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell. I mean, I guess this means it's out there a whole lot of times.
Yeah, I don't think 27,000 is close to being viral, but maybe if we get one more push on there, that it'll maybe
two,
maybe take off.
Maybe 2 pushes. Might push me out the door.
And then also, Rip, I know you didn't seem too mad about this, but I was a little pissed. I had a lot of people text me about it. Saw some people comment, like Michael Costello, I saw was on there commenting, going to bat for us. So we made Jim Cornette's podcast, Rip. We got Jim Cornette took audio from our podcast when Ace Steel was on there about Stephen P. New. Look at that, 74,000 views on it. The only problem is he failed to mention that he got the Ace Steel interview from our channel. Does that kind of bum me out a little bit?
No, I never.
74,000 people could have known that we had a podcast with Ace Steel on it. That would have been nice. And that's only 3 days. That thing is still going to be growing and growing and growing and growing.
Well, hell, most of the information that I get I get it from Jimmy just listening to it.
Yeah, but anytime we've ever used him, I taken his stuff when when he's talked about the Outrunners. I'm like, this comes from Jim Cornette's YouTube show. I never just use it and not tell. Plus, it's Cornette, so everybody knows. I mean, Ace Steel. I mean, hell, he could have been on anywhere, but he was right here, as Mick Foley says, on Wrestling with Rip Rogers, and we got no credit for it.
You gonna lose your sleep over it?
Yeah, a little bit. It pisses me off. That's big money, Rip. If you knew how much money we could make off that, you'd lose money. You'd lose sleep too. But
no matter what, I'll be eating at Dollar Tree.
No, that's your
Dollar
choice.
Tree. No,
we it is because we
what
the potential we could have would get you from quit eating at Dollar Tree. And if you if you were loaded and still ate at Dollar Tree, then that's on you.
Yeah, if I had $10 million, I'd still be eating at Dollar Tree.
And if you do, that's just whatever.
Wait a minute. Just because you have a fucking opinion and I have fucking one, don't mean
number one, I don't believe you.
Huh?
I don't believe you. Number one.
Oh, okay.
Number two, why? Okay, then tell me why. Why would you? Why would you eat at Dollar Tree if you had $1 million?
Because I can fucking get full in 5 minutes.
You can get full.
I don't like to eat.
What are you doing right now?
I haven't ate nothing today.
What are you doing right now? I don't like to eat.
No, it takes. Yeah, just think like Thanksgiving, right? When you have your big Thanksgiving dinner and everything.
Yeah.
First, you're starving, and you're in pain because you're smelling all that food and you're not eating. Then you eat. Then I would eat so fast, like a fucking nut, that for the next 4 hours, my belly's throbbing. So you're in more pain from eating like a dumbass, eating so fast, than not eating.
That's not how mine goes. I go.
Okay.
We get there at noon. I have 2 full rum and cokes on an empty stomach. Get a nice buzz going. Everybody goes through line at least twice. I get me a little plate, watch football, drink a whole bottle of rum and coke. I hardly eat at all on Thanksgiving.
Really?
Oh yeah. Then I'll eat a little later. I'll eat some leftovers later, but I don't eat that much. I like to drink my calories, Rip. George Justin has a question. What was it like for Rip to work with No Class, Bobby Bass, and Bulldog Bob Brown? Really dig the AGPW videos.
The legendary. Bass is funnier than fuck. He is. And the Bulldog was spectacular. First of all, Bulldog, when I was there, I'd always ride with him because he'd have the Cadillac. So I'd always sit in the back seat, and then he'd always put fresh white sheets in the back. So let's say I would just soil them a lot.
Oh, wow. You'd piss in them?
No. There might be some
that kind of
stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Great question, George.
Guilty as charged.
Opinion Haven says you guys are on an incredible roll of interviews. Thanks, buddy. Give credit to Rip. Rip's been on the ball here lately. Roy Fox said we need more Ernie Ladd road stories with Rip.
Well, they'd have to be cleaned up because we're on this station here. I think we're more PG a little bit.
You haven't been clean yet in the first 20 minutes of this show. Why you'd start now? Were you on the road with him a lot? I know you've talked about a couple stories, and you did last week with whenever Ace Steel was on and mentioned who's the greatest or whatever,
Rogers, who's the best baby face you ever seen? You, Ernie.
Now, did you say you lived with him though?
He lived right next to me.
Oh, next to you.
Yeah. in Bossier City, because he was one. They had like Watts on the territory, and then the two agents were Grizzly Smith and Ernie. So Grizz was there always trying to hustle the young girls. So they had Ernie to stooge on him. And then if Ernie would be out being late, or he usually would be playing pinball for hours before and after the show, then Grizz would stooge on Ernie for being late. So we had two agents there, so they'd stooge on each other to even it out. So Watts could just laugh.
I don't know if you just said this or not. Did you say did Ernie live with somebody, or did he?
No, he lived next to me.
But did he live with somebody?
No, he was just there. Well, he had his house in Houston, see, with his wife and kids, and then we'd wrestled in Houston probably on the average of every 2 weeks, and then so we'd always have Bucks Biloxi, and then drove about 400 miles all night to his house. That's when I'd spend the night there. Then we'd wrestle or work Houston on a Friday night, and then we would drive back to Bossier City, which is right outside of Shreveport.
Ian, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Lemon. Sorry, Ian. I was watching the CM Punk versus Cena match from SummerSlam 2013 and saw Ace in the crowd when Punk stood by him right before the match. I felt like I found a kick-ass chair-tossing Waldo. Huh. So he's just in the crowd watching, huh? Buckshot Kid in the house in green.
Well, it's good to have Buckshot on there. We usually get stumped on something.
He's always there.
And he's like the savant of wrestling history, so he'll usually
and technology. He knows pretty much everything, really.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He should take my place.
He is a know-it-all. Ian said, as a cult member, I feel a shit ton of us should be your way. Yeah, come on this way, man. Get the Cult of Cornette and come this way. I saw a lot of people commenting that, Rippin and Cornette. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the one and the same kind of deal almost. Or a lot of their opinions on wrestling. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, let's get them together on a podcast." Well, you guys need to reach out to Cornette, tell him to come on here. All you Cult of Cornette members that would like to see Rip and Cornette together, you need to get Cornette on board.
We got to get Ron DeShane. He's the guy to do it.
To get him on board?
Yeah, Ron DeShane's the big guy with he's the head honcho, I think, of the Cult of Cornette.
Love to have him on here. Be the greatest ever. He doesn't do video, so we'll get him on here with some video, man. I found this page after watching Rip on Stories with Bradshaw and Jerry. A great interview. That's who I thought we were going to get on with JBL. He just went on somewhere else now. I think he was on with Renee, maybe. I think. Any Bruiser Bob Sweetan stories from William Lynn?
You hear a lot of stories about Bruiser Bob Sweetan. That
I'm not familiar with him.
He was a tough looking guy, and I remember one weekend where me and Steve Cooper was working for Dick the Bruiser. And I'm going to start the question, and I'm going to come back.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
All right.
So we worked in Danville. We lived in Indianapolis, and we was working in Danville. Worked in Danville, Illinois, and then we drove all night to Kansas City TV, and Bruiser Bob Sweetan was there. Then we worked St. Joseph TV that night, then come back and worked. On the way back, we worked the two Wrestling from the Chase, the two shows from St. Louis, and I got to work against Flair, and I got to work against Dick Murdoch. And then I was teaching school then, and then I was driving back. And then when I got back, I give my the principal. I said, "Well, here's my notice. I come back, take out my sick days, my personal or my personal days, and just fucking dock me." But anyway, Bruiser Bob Sweetan, you hear a bunch of stories about him, but I just met him one time, and he was nice to me. I knew he was a big draw for Southwest. When they were on, they used to be on the cable on USA Network before WWE come on, and that was Tully Blanchard's his father, Joe Blanchard. And then I read something on the internet where Tony said, or Tully said they were like $120,000 or $140,000 behind of the payment thing, and then so WWE took it over. But yeah, I guess Bruiser Bob Sweetan, I guess he was like most of the wrestlers, guys that were wrestlers, let's say in the olden days. Today there are basically a lot of nerds, and they used to be sort of like criminal, tough guys. About everybody, they was always getting in fights, and they had guns and knives, brass knucks, etc. And that was the norm. I didn't have trouble with anybody because I was sort of like a nerd. I sort of evolved out of not being a nerd and into what you're looking at right now. But Bruiser,
so you started the nerd movement in wrestling.
I must have, yeah. But anyway, Bruiser Bob Sweetan, yeah, he was working, but he was working for Kansas City because I remember I met him. I remember Scott Casey too. Bulldog Bob Brown. This was years and years ago.
Now, was that the Scott Casey that was like a cowboy type?
Yes.
Was it really?
Yeah, because I remember him. He was older than me, but he was on, I think, Wife Number 4 then.
Oh, really?
And he was telling me stories, and I'm going, God damn, is this fucking cool? This guy's lived. So Cowboy Scott Casey, you turned me on to just being a total perv like the rest of us, but what the fuck, right?
Forgot about him.
Yeah.
Visvec said, had read a story about the Hells Angels attacking Don Fargo and his partner. His partner lost a leg after the attack. Any stories with Don Fargo? I think I just heard that on Cornette's podcast. They were talking about them doing the Hells Angel gimmick, and then the Hells Angels really got pissed about it.
Yeah, that's when Fargo jumped out the window.
Yep, that's what he said. Yeah.
Fargo, I remember one time somebody come in the ring. I think he's working for Nick Goulas. Come in the ring, and he had and this is something that I harp on all the time, is if you have fucking earrings in your ears, just rip them some bitches off and they won't go in the ring with them anymore. Now I'm not against your character of having earrings, nose rings, and whatever, but before the bell rings, you take them all out. Because when you're out there wrestling, and girls will have fucking hoop earrings and shit. They'll be wrestling. What the fuck? Or in anything that was half-ass real, you would just rip them some bitches off right away and it'd be blood and it'd be awesome. But Don Fargo ripped the earrings out of some guy come in. I don't know if he forgot to take them out or whatever. But anytime that I'll wrestle, I said, make sure you take that shit out before you get in there, because you could hurt me or I might get pissed off and rip your ear out because you shouldn't be that fucking stupid.
So what'd the guy do when he ripped his earrings out? Anything?
He bled like a stuck pig. Fargo, he was just awesome.
Do you remember who his partner was that got attacked?
I remember. I can sing, but I can't remember. He was the green guy of it. So Fargo was smart enough to get out jump out the fucking window.
Now maybe I shouldn't ask this, but which one? Who was Don Fargo? Like I know Jackie Fargo and Danny Fargo. Yeah,
but this was the Fargo that he was jacked, and he wrestled for God, I bet 40 years at least, and he was a tough guy. And he was always, and he used to, when he was doing the motor, he would drive to the town in the motorcycle shit.
That's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he would just leave on the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's what Cornette said. He'd pull in and
he was a bigger than life guy. When I'd see him, I wouldn't say a word. I just wanted to listen to him.
So was he ever in Memphis with Jackie Fargo?
Oh yeah.
Were they partners?
Probably for short terms. It was probably not with Memphis, but with Nick Goulas though.
All right, so then obviously he was probably a badass. So do you think when the Hells Angels came after him, it was just a thing of numbers? Then I mean, if he's going diving out windows, it doesn't seem like he'd be the one to not want to fight. So do you think there was just a ton of them?
Oh no, they brought him to their place. See, they say, hey, how's it going, Don? Come on, let's party with us, blah, 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 blah. Brought him in like that. Then all of a sudden you're surrounded by,
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
They set him up to sabotage him.
Yes. So I don't want to say when I wasn't there, because you know how I like, but then again, you got to make the story a little bit better,
Yeah.
But.
So there was probably too many of them and he probably thought he was going to die. So he.
Oh, yeah. But I guess the other guy, he got his leg cut off.
That's what
they had amputated his leg.
Wow, what a story! Rabid Platypus says, will you ever get Renee on? Renee's been on. Go look at our live stream and our playlist. I think he was our first live stream we ever did. I think he was the very first guest live. Rene Dupree was on there. So he may come on again sometime. Rip's been on his show multiple times. Actually, we did that OVW reunion to review the Netflix show Wrestlers, and nobody watched it, so it wasn't much of a review. Remember that?
No.
It was me, you, and Renee, and Doug Basham came on for a minute.
Yeah, because Doug
Nick no-showed.
Yeah, Nick
I think
no-showed.
Trash got on. Flash was on.
Okay.
And nobody watched the Netflix show. So yeah, so we've been on a couple times with Renee, actually, or he's been on our show, and both. So go find it.
Well, it's like Renee. When the last time I was there in '97, Renee went to the towns with me every day because he'd bring all the pictures to sell, and he was a little kid then. So and then I was always training, and so he sort of got to see how that was, and he became a workout nut.
So yeah, we'll try to get him on again. Jason Pepe looks like excited to hear the interview with Stephen P. New. Can't wait to hear his take on the dipshit idiots versus the Punk fight. Yeah, we'll see what he says, man. We're gonna try to get him to talk. See what he can say, what he's allowed to say. I'm excited too. So speaking of 29 minutes, Rip, 28 minutes. Stephen P. New is going to join us. Why don't you? I know you've talked about it before, but probably going to have some new people on here. Won't you? And you can say it again when he's on here. But how'd you meet Stephen P. New?
How'd I meet him?
Yeah.
The first time I actually met him, I think I was at some convention, and he come up, and we started talking, took pictures. He bought my book and whatever, and we just started bullshitting. And he started talking to me how he used to go all the shows at off our Beckley, West Virginia. We used to run that. And when I was in ICW, we ran the first Thursday of every month. We ran Beckley, West Virginia at the Raleigh County Civic Center. And it's a building seated about 5,000 people. And that's like in the wrestling business. The first week of the month is usually your best month, your best week. Yeah. Because everybody, the welfare people get their government checks or whatever. So we was trying. So that was always, that was about our best. I think Beckley was our best town because it was a nice big building, but it didn't cost that much. And they had a pretty hot secretary. And I used to settle up with Dave Danko, and sometimes shenanigans happen. What the hell, right?
Like a hot secretary. So I guess I must have not had the story right. I was thinking when he would come to like ICW shows that you knew him way back then. So you met him.
He was about 12 years old, I'm thinking, something like that.
Okay, so you met him at a convention.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, I'm Stephen P. New. I used to come watch you wrestle all the time."
Exactly.
Ah, gotcha. I see. Buckshot Kid, who is in green. Thank you, Buckshot Kid, for being in green. Rip, how hard was it to hide your legal name from the public when dealing with the government?
Dealing with the government. I never even hide my legal name. I don't know.
Did you deal with the government?
No, I didn't deal with the government.
Did you pay taxes?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of guys have working names like all the different actors and stuff.
I wonder if they change them. Do they change them officially?
I don't know.
I wonder if they do for legal reasons or tax reasons or any other reason. You never changed yours officially, did you?
No. You just got...
I changed mine to Von Lilas legally.
Did you? No, I didn't think you did, but what the fuck, right?
Michael Costello in green. Thanks for being in green, Michael Costello. That means he's a member of this show. Howdy, y'all. Hey, speaking of, I put up... I don't know if you guys even watch it. Every once in a while, it's kind of my fault. I don't give you guys a whole lot. But I put out an hour last night of just a old Continental wrestling TV show, like a 45-minute show,
Just
whatever
Ron
it was.
Fuller show?
Yep. Just put it for members only. So if you're a member and want to go back down memory lane of some old school wrestling, I think there's a Rip and Adrian Street match in there too, I believe.
Yeah, when I was working for Ron Fuller in Continental, Adrian's the only guy I worked with. I come in and we shot an angle first night, and then after 6 months, I'd work with him 26 weeks in a row in all the clubs. And then it was time to go to work for somebody else. I said, Ron, I'm out of here. He said, what? I said, no, the matches I had with Adrian were so good, and we had the chemistry because I had Brenda as a valet and he had Linda as a valet. It was just so good. Anything from then on was going to go down. It wasn't like I was there, and then we build this. Like when I was with for Fuller before for 11 months in Southeastern, I worked with Austin Idol at the end, the last 10 weeks. I couldn't get any higher than that. And then I was out there, and then I went to work with Ole. And once I worked with Adrian, uh, I wasn't going to be satisfied mentally with anything else because it couldn't be followed. Because we had both the girls in there with the cat fights all the time and everything too. So it was just time to go somewhere else.
Well, the match I watched, Rip, wasn't a girl cat fight. It was actually you taking Miss Linda's head off with a clothesline. I was a little ashamed that you would do that to a nice lady like that, Rip.
Shit, that bitch is tougher than me. She beat me. And Adrian said, "Don't worry about me. You just got to worry about Linda. She'll knock her dick off."
Yeah, you took her head off. So, Barry says, any Roughhouse Fargo stories? A lot of Fargos.
Well, Roughhouse was Nut House.
Was he?
Yeah, and he was the referee. He was a referee. This was before cable TV, so he was a referee in Charlotte. So everyone, usually when they would shut down, like for Christmas, and they'd have 2 weeks vacation or whatever, he would come and work with Jackie Fargo, and he'd be Roughhouse or Nut House Fargo. But you didn't know that because there wasn't any cable TV. So you just know Nut House would come in for 2 weeks at the end of the year, and it was almost like Andre the Giant coming in or the Champion coming in. Nut House was over, so he would come in for basically the Christmas break or whatever, and that would be it. Because the rest of the time he was Sonny Fargo, the referee from North Carolina, Charlotte, that territory.
Robert says, Rip, what was John Tatum like outside the ring?
Well, when he was first getting into business, and he hadn't really got Arn Anderson, they called him Frank Freebird all the time.
Oh, really?
They always called him Frank Freebird, and he was funny. He was tall. He loved the wrestling business, and I think he was actually from Pensacola. And then I can't remember what his dad did, but he ended up being a hell of a pro. And he was always a real good guy. He was funnier than shit. And I think he was sort of dumbed down on some things, so he would be sort of goofy, so the guys would like him. But he was a real nice guy, and he had a great career.
Yeah.
But Arn Anderson always called him Frank Freebird.
You know why?
Well, I think he was from Pensacola, like Michael Hayes was. So he idolized Michael Hayes. It'd be like me being from Seymour, but idolizing John Mellencamp because he was a little bit older, and look what he became. You know what I mean?
William Lynn says, any Bob Roop stories? I'm finding his new podcast enjoyable and interesting to hear his perspective on the San Francisco and Knoxville days.
Okay. Bob was a real tough guy. He was a member of the 1968 Greco-Roman Olympic team. And he was one of my business partners at ICW. And Bob was very, very intelligent. He didn't talk like me. He talked like a college professor. But he was, when he was in San Francisco, he sort of, Roy Shires was the promoter in San Francisco. He was the first promoter to have TV out there. And his big draw was Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. And he used to sell that damn Cow Palace out almost every week and everything. But like everything, you burn out, etc. And Bob sort of tried to do a thing where he got the boys going. I think Bob wanted to be an owner.
Yeah.
And it is just like in Knoxville when they went opposition to, it was Bob Roop, Boris Malenko, Ronnie Garvin, and Bob Orton Jr. Bob was a hell of a talker. He could really motivate you, get you, yeah, we can do this and we can do that. But it's like Garvin said, after Bob come in, one of our business, he was one of our business partners with in ICW. You'd come in and you always thought you should have made more money. But then when you got into promotion and saw that we had to buy a new $30-some thousand ring truck, couple diesel vans, and this is 40 some years ago, then there's another $35,000 that they were paying. We were producing at Channel 36. We were doing our promos at Channel 36. You had to pay. At the time, you weren't getting paid to be on television, but you were actually like when we had TV in Louisville, we paid $400 a week to have a tape aired there. We paid $400 to have Lexington tape aired. Then we would have about $1,000 a week expense to have them have the tape played and produced there at Channel 36 Studios, and then got promo time where we're paying each week for them to do our promos and everything. So in other words, we were taking in this much amount of money, but we might be spending this much amount of money. And you're thinking, God, we're really going to make a lot of money. And all of a sudden we're barely breaking even or whatever to meet payroll.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Now, was he like an Olympian or anything, or did he do anything before? I always remember he wore like the red, white, and blue or something for a while. Was he ever anything else?
Are you ribbing me? About 3 minutes ago, I explained how he was a member of the 1968 Greco-Roman.
Oh, I did.
Oh, yeah. That's an upper body when you can't. Yeah.
And you said Olympic. You just said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that's like my buddy Zupo. He was the alternate on the Olympic team with the Greco-Roman in the 1980, but they didn't go because of the Afghanistan thing. But no.
You must have said it at the beginning, because I was listening to the rest of it, and I was like, I wanted to ask that question. I didn't want to forget asking it.
Yeah.
So then I must have just not heard, because I had it in my brain. I wanted
but
to
anyway,
make sure I asked you that.
No,
question.
Bob was always a real smart guy. And when I was working for Ole the first time from Championship Wrestling from Georgia, Bob was like, Ole was basically the owner, and Bob was his number one guy. And Bob was and he was the first guy that he said, Rip, he says, you're going to have a hard time getting booked now. I said, what the fuck you talking about, Bob? I'm 30 years old at the time. He says, you really understand this business, and you look great, and you ain't got an attitude, and you'll put anybody over, do whatever they want. I said, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? He said, yeah, but you'll get heat for that.
Yeah.
That's like for a girl that can really wrestle and she's hot. Every girl hates her because, well, she's just a hot bitch. She's a whore. Yeah. Or she can really wrestle. They're just out there to do their best. Anyway, I start flying this and I get off tangent.
Well, we gotta come in here, because Michael Costello just made our Christmas here with a big $20 super chat. It says, look at that. It says, you're doing great, Vaughn. Hey, look at that. I get a.
Well, you always are doing
a compliment.
The only thing bad about you today is that haircut, but you got the thing on now, so nobody can see it.
You're on a hot streak too. Thanks, Michael Costello. You're the man. Big thank you to you and Rip. Did Von Erichs waste an opportunity by working with AEW ROH, or could this be good for them? My apologies if you've already discussed. Well, I can say one comment on that is the Von Erichs came in and worked with the Outrunners, so we can never say that they made a mistake coming in and working with the team that we think is the greatest team ever, the Outrunners.
Now look at this. Sit back there and listen now. No, the Outrunners are the best tag team in AEW. Everybody knows it. And I'm talking about when I got the experience of what I got, which is nobody else in this world has got. Excuse fucking me. And I started from the depth, the fucking bottom. The Outrunners are so good, and everybody knows it. So they're actually giving the rub to the great Kevin Von Erich, his boys, and whatever, because they got no attitude.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really his question. I just said that. His question was, do you think they wasted an opportunity by working with AEW? I guess maybe he's saying, should they waited to try to get WWE contracts? I'll be honest, I don't know anything about the Von Erich boys. Like, I've not seen them wrestle. I mean, do you know much about them?
No.
I just,
because it ain't like when I was when I was working for Bill Watts, the Dallas territory was the number territory. God, that's when they had over 40,000 for Flair against in the title match there, and Dallas was on fire. They were pretty much selling out. I just think they worked in Dallas twice a week, because one day they would do TV, then they would do a house show. Then Fort Worth, which was about 40 minutes from there. So they're there 3 times in the Metroplex. What are you
I
laughing
understand,
about?
but we're talking about Kevin Von Erich's kids. Like, they're not working in Dallas.
Okay,
like, do you know anything about them, or how old they are, how long they've been wrestling? I don't know anything about his kids except for the little snippet I saw on AEW.
Let's see, Marshall, and what's the other one's name? I remember years ago you would hear stuff about it, but I'm talking about stuff that was 40 years ago.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So
they may not even been born.
No,
then.
Kevin's lived in Hawaii for I don't know how long. But he was a good guy. His whole family treated me good.
Okay, so do you think they waste an opportunity by working with AEW?
No, because the movie's out now.
Right.
And I guess
today, I think.
Okay, so if WWE, if they'd have come knocking, he would have gladly went in there. But I guess nobody come knocking, so Tony's knocking, saying, "Hey, grab fucking Tony." Hell yeah.
I agree with that. Like, if that's your only option,
yes,
I would get on there, plug the movie, get your kids some exposure.
Yeah.
Put them with the world's greatest tag team, the Outrunners.
Yeah. Out and Runners, Turbo and Floyd.
Doesn't get any better. I wonder how the match went. They've had the match, surely. It's on that. So the Ring of Honor, which I didn't really. Ring of Honor doesn't have TV. There's a Ring of Honor, like, internet thing, streaming channel. You got to pay like $10 a month for Ring of Honor. So, did anybody see the match? Is the match over? Did anybody see the Von Erichs against the Outrunners? I'm assuming the Outrunners almost won. They always say,
but
we barely lost, or we almost won.
But no matter what, they're jacked. No matter what, they'll spin, and they get younger and younger every day.
And they're mostly undefeated.
Sort of, yeah, mostly.
Mostly undefeated. So I'm sure they almost beat the Von Erichs, would be my guess. James Earl Cash says, happy holidays, men. Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Happy holidays. Ian, said, by chance, do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Especially the episodes with Piper. I've never seen it.
I don't watch TV, so
no.
Hello,
Mr. Rogers. Hello, Mr. P. New. Well, I'm not Mr. New. In case you think I'm Stephen P. New, he'll be on at noon though. He'll be on in about 12 minutes. Going to be the greatest. Hey, this is going to be the greatest lawyer interview we've ever done.
I think it will be.
It will. It definitely will be.
It could launch Stephen P. New's career even more.
Or it could launch our career more.
Yeah.
He's going to do more for us than we're going to do for him, I think.
Well, I put him over. What the fuck, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Love your beard, Rip. Everybody loves your beard. I mean, they beg for it. We all beg for it for many, many months. Finally, you're growing out the beard.
Well, I hate shaving. And you got to buy them damn razor blades about once a week. What?
Just change that.
What?
You shaved for a decade?
Yeah.
So you can't all of a sudden just say, "Oh, it's because I hate shaving." Because for 6 months we were on here trying to get you to grow a beard, and you were like, "I'm not growing a beard. I'm not growing a beard. I'm not growing a beard." Now all of a sudden you just hate shaving?
No, I always hated shaving. But now, when you got to go to Dollar Tree and get them razor blades too. What the hell, right?
And your lunch, your razor blades in your lunch. Yeah. Jesus.
I don't have. Well,
don't you just eat a razor blade?
Oh, I can just swallow it. Yeah.
Buckshot Kid, who's in green. Did you have to wrestle any different when working in a boxing ring to a wrestling ring?
Boy, I didn't.
Don't take bumps.
Yeah, I didn't have to, but you learn very, very quickly what to do and what not to do. It's like when they have them. Some of the rings, the boxing rings they'd have 4 ropes. A lot of them. They were the big fat ropes.
Yeah.
And you'd hit them, and they would be. It ain't like hitting the steel cable ropes. But if you took a bump in one of them hard boxing rings, Jesus Christ, you're just sitting there and you can't get up. You're going, fuck this. I'm going to wibble wobble. I'm going to be like a honky tonk man. I'm going to be wibble wobble, wibble wobble, wibble wobble, almost go down, almost go down, almost go down. You finally go down. And it's comeback time. And I'm just sitting there, I bet you high on the back, and I ain't going no motherfucking where. Let me slap.
Are you talking about you, or are you talking about a Jimmy Valiant comeback?
No, that was honky tonk.
Oh, honky tonk.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. Michael Costello is just personally sponsoring this show.
I think he's been getting sexual favors for money. I think he's been at Walmart and making a lot of money at night.
Personally sponsoring this show today. Not only is he a member,
he's on fire.
Now he's going to give us a little more super chat for popping on the answer. Outrunners for life, baby. That's right.
Turbo and Floyd.
Runner, Turbo and Floyd.
Turbo and Floyd.
Pinion Haber comes in and says Marshall and Ross are the Von Erichs. Grew up in Hawaii. Been wrestling at least 4 or 5 years. They are fantastic, he said.
Jamie's on it. Opinion Haver's on it, huh?
Yep. Remember he came on and said something about the Outrunners not being very good one day, though. Remember that? We had to turn on him that day.
Oh, I'll turn on him. No, Turbo and Floyd's where it's at. Fucking Shiloh's been around about 17 motherfucking years. Just hanging out, finally getting a chance to do what he fucking loves. And where was he trained at to start with? Buddy Wayne Academy.
That's right.
Buddy Wayne Academy. That's right. And now there's Nick Wayne, superstar. Mother's a superstar on the AEW TV show.
Oh boy, isn't she? They Shiloh used to pay me in APOC. We were his henchman at one time down in OVW, I think it was.
Well, you was always just a money grubber.
Oh,
you was a bully.
Yep.
God, I saw a picture. You was jacked.
Yeah, man.
Was you on the shit or what?
Oh, all kinds of it, man.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Jeff G's in Green says morning. Remember we got his name changed on here last week.
Yeah.
Got him back to Jeff G.
Okay.
Dave Channel said greatest tag team ever. Rip Rogers, Pistol Pez, and Gary Royal, greatest 3-man tag team ever. What do you think of that, Rip?
I think that's a hell of a compliment, but I don't think you seen the Freebirds. Freebirds was the best. We were good, but they were the best. They were together so long, and all the guys was veterans. That fucking Michael Hayes, that son of a bitch. You hated that motherfucker, but he could turn babyface.
I loved him.
And then you fucking loved him.
I just always loved him.
Terry Gordy was just I met Terry started wrestling when he was 14, and Mike was 17. And they were just a great team. And then Buddy Roberts, he was one of the original Hollywood Blondes with Jerry Brown years ago. And he was just the perfect quarterback in the ring. He was just so fucking smart. He was the brains of the team. Terry was the fucking killer, and that goddamn Mike, he just sit there and he'd be sitting on a turnbuckle and popping his pecs, and they'd be making him dance. He was a hell of a fucking rib. But he was always, since he was brought up in Pensacola, he was always like a Mr. NWA guy.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and gets that job with WWE, and he's been there for 20-some years, just kicking ass, taking goddamn names. Hell of a fucking snappy dresser too.
Yeah, well,
I loved working with him because he could always moonwalk. That was cool.
Says Rip looks like a wizard. EJ Slim says, in a world full of Brian Alvarez's, be a Stephen P. New. Not sure what that means.
What's that? What did it say it at?
Up there.
In a world full,
Wrestling Wizard. Dollar Store's great soup deals. Retro Rocket Review. I am running out of no-name razors. I would always buy bags that say discontinued. Rip's beard is badass, man. Your beard's about as over as Stephen P. New, Rip.
Oh, there ain't nobody. No. If I had a beard commercial going, man,
I should have stole that from Cornette's and played it on here for his intro, and I didn't do it. Brito79 says, you guys have never watched It's Always Sunny and missed out on Danny DeVito. Great track. No, we've not seen it. Opinion Haver says, I have no recollection of anything but positivity for the Outrunners. Why was on the very program with Turbo and Floyd.
Hey, I remember one time they did something, and Jimmy just buried him for some Cornette.
Yeah, we played it on here.
Yeah, he buried him about something, and Randy, and they just fucking laughed. He just fucking laughs. He says, "Well, we're famous for. Hey, we're over now. Cornette buried us. All right."
We did a whole show on it with Turbo and Floyd.
I can't.
And I played the Cornette clip for him.
I can't fucking remember. You know that
we covered the whole thing on here. It's the first time is when Turbo and Floyd tried to go over the top rope and was, I don't know, he was off a step or something. And that's when Cornette came on and said, who are these two goofs, jobbers, every other name in the book. They can't work. They can't do this. Can't do that. And then we had him on here. He's like, he knows both of us. He got Shiloh in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And then Randy used to do his lawn.
Yeah. He used to cut his trees down or whatever.
What the hell, right?
Well, they do look a little different. Hey, it's about 4 minutes from Stephen P. New. I hope he shows up. I hope he just didn't
call Stephen.
He's not in the waiting room yet.
Well, I guess. Let's see. I only told him how many 27 times I think about what time and on Eastern Standard Time, etc. Blah blah blah. So
we'll see what Stephen P. New says. You guys can go ahead and ask questions in the chat. If you got any super chat questions, definitely we'll get those up there. We'll see how it goes. I have no idea what he can and cannot talk about. I do know he's going to want to talk about some old school wrestling, some probably ICW wrestling, some different things like that. He did say in the little promo he sent us that, he could talk about some how law and wrestling go together. So I'm sure. I'm going to ask the tough questions. Don't know what he's going to be able to say. Hopefully he can give us a little something on the situation. So we'll see. But
if he's a lawyer, he'll ask him a question and he'll talk to you for 20 minutes about the question, but he didn't answer none of it. And then you got 20 minutes going.
So you must be a lawyer.
Not me. I wish I was a lawyer.
That's how you answer questions. Talk 20 minutes on something that has nothing to do with the question.
Well, I got so much stuff of leading up and what the afterthought was and looking back and reminiscing, you know. It's like you when you first started finger popping some girl in the 9th grade or something like that, and when you was just the real name and not Von Lilas,
Dave Channel says Kenny Bolin has a podcast. Yeah, I went and checked it out. He's telling folks he won't answer questions unless you donate money. Well, I guess donate money or he won't answer. I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. He's got that fund for the. What country is it? Where he
like Taiwan or
something like that.
Yeah, none of that money goes to Bolin. All those super chat money, none of it goes to Bolin. It all goes to the kids in Taiwan or the Philippines, I think it is.
Well, guys, there's only 9,000. Is it about 9 or 10? How many different wrestling podcasts on there?
There's a lot.
Okay, so if you want to ask a question, you can ask it.
There was somebody that came on ours and said, I'm usually an asshole. There's way too many wrestling podcasts. There's way too many that suck. But I found this one, and it's one of my favorites.
Who are they talking about?
Ours.
Oh, did he say we sucked or we didn't?
He just, are you ribbing me right now? I just said, he said it's one of my favorites.
Well,
if we're one of his favorites, that doesn't mean he sucks. Or we suck.
He didn't. Well, it's 11:59, so I'm waiting for Stephen P. New to come.
Well, we can still do our show until you don't have to sit here and wait.
No, I just keep on. We just be talking about.
Well, I'm trying to. Greetings from Berlin, Germany, to Von Lila. Hey, I'm the mad German. Remember when I used to be from Germany, Rip?
Right, you were.
Yeah, I was from Germany for a while. So greetings there, my fellow German. Hey, we got a thing from
finger popping. One of my hobbies.
I don't get it. I read it. I don't get it. I said, I don't get it.
Well, I was talking about finger popping a while ago.
Oh. Well, when I said something, you don't listen to me either. So
what the fuck, right?
We don't listen to each other. Berlin, Germany. Yeah, we got people from all over the country now, Rip. Everywhere. We got people from all
So we could,
over.
so when I'm sitting there going ein, zwei, drei, everybody understands that because people all over the world.
Well, I think not everybody understands it, but somebody would understand it. We'll give this one more plug here. Hustle Rip Rogers, ProWrestlingTees.com. If you get one on the right that says Wrestling with the Rip Rogers, then I get a piece of the pie too. And then Rip's book. I don't know if you've read this or not. This would be a great Christmas gift. The Hustle Rip Rogers, the book on pro wrestling, Amazon.com, the greatest Christmas gift that you could give. I've still got one for Tony Khan, a personal copy for Tony Khan that Rip Rogers will autograph. And I'm going to sell it to Tony for half price. It's right here, Tony. I know you got to watch this show, especially today with your favorite lawyer, Stephen P. New on. Half price, baby. It's all yours. What do you think of that, Rip?
You give me that thing.
Well, I won't give it to you anymore.
To eat, and it got on my teeth and shit. Well, excuse me. It wasn't even. It's.
If I got any more questions in the chat.
Okay, this is a hell of a rib.
Is that Stephen P. New?
I don't know. Not from a 317 number, no.
Hands down, you fellas have a great thing going. It's everyone else's fault for not watching. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well, I guess I'll just start the thing right here.
Well, wait till he leaves the peers. People are going to think he's coming on now. He's not coming out.
Well,
send him a text. Ask him where the hell he's at.
I can't remember how to do that. Let me see.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. I got to open up my phone here. Got that.
I mean, in the meantime, that never gets old. Just keep playing that. All right, somebody give us a question in the chat. Okay, here's a question. Do you have real teeth, Rip?
Here's my bottoms. Here's my tops.
About real as they get right there.
Yeah, I'm calling Stephen P. Rune right now on the whatever messenger, whatever. It's ringing.
Why don't you just call his phone? You got his cell phone number.
I don't know.
I don't. Just call his cell phone number. People don't do that in messenger shit.
Oh, okay.
Rip's on the phone trying to get Stephen P. New on the show. We've never had a guest not show up. You know that, right, Rip?
Oh, no, are you sure? No, because that time we had
100%.
Them other guys come in. That Nick didn't come in that day. Remember?
We've never had a guest on our show not show up.
No,
ever.
when we were supposed to have like Forerunner and Forum showed up.
That was Renee's show. That wasn't our show. We didn't put any of that together. I didn't put any of that together.
Oh, Stephen P. News. He's logging on right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're on live. Stephen P. New. See, oh no, nobody does that messenger shit, right? All of a sudden,
not answers it.
Now he's saying logging on now. So he was goddamn late to begin with. So now I'm gonna
bury his ass.
I'm gonna bury his ass now.
Nobody's gonna hire you now, Stephen P. New.
Yeah,
late on the Wrestling with Rip Rogers show.
Yeah.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah. Shit.
I saw a video where Tony Atlas said he press slammed King Kong Bundy. Do you believe that, Rip?
No.
You don't?
No.
Jeff G wants to know if we're going to Square City Expo. You know, I emailed them about booking us to see if we could do it. And I don't know how to do it. Do you know how to? It says all the vendor tables are sold out. Jeff G, how do you do it? Email thelilastudios@gmail.com and tell me how to get a table if there's any left. I emailed actual Square City Expo and never heard a word back from them. Are you booked with anybody there yet? This is why we don't do food on this show anymore. Are you booked?
Well, you gave me this food.
That's why I said, yeah, I know. It was a mistake. It was my fault.
That was,
should have never.
Well, look at that.
Should have never done it. I don't know why you just don't eat it. It's like a protein bar. It's a kind bar. Do you know if Romer has a table? Can you answer any of these questions?
What? You didn't say you was talking to me.
Well, who the hell do you think
I don't know who you're talking to. Sitting there in the middle of a show asking you questions.
Well, I'm sitting on here for...
And you're clean your teeth because Steve... All right, let's just go sit here until Stephen P. New gets on here.
All right.
I mean, how fun is that?
Okay.
can't carry on a show because he's 2 minutes late, so you can't ad lib for
2 minutes late. It's 12:05 now.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I got my coffee. I got Dr. Pepper. No, this thing was.
Well, then talk to the people out there. We got 50
Talk to the people.
Here, and you act like you're not even on a damn show.
What?
I said we got 50 people on here, and you act like you're not even on a show.
Are you ribbing me?
Well, no, I'm not.
I've been taking emotions up and down and up and down and up and down. I'm still waiting for Stephen P. New to come on.
We all know that you're waiting on Stephen P. New. In the process, or in the meantime,
and in
just
between
do the
time,
damn show.
I am doing it.
Well, Bond's being a baby. Fuck off, Italian.
Yeah,
I'm not
all right.
Being a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steven,
oh, there he is.
Now do the intro song.
Wait a minute. Da 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 dun da 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 dun da 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 dun. I can't do da 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 dun and call Stephen P. New. He's late. You're late, motherfucker. I've been waiting here. I spent the night here waiting for Stephen P. New to come on. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, oh, he's going to be on. 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 Is he on here? Hell no. Fuck no. Now here he is, conveniently late. He's probably had some damsel in distress, or you know how them lawyer people are.
That's exactly right.
Oh, you sound like $1 million.
Oh,
bucks,
shit.
You sound great, man.
Wait a minute. Do I owe you money? What are you drinking there? I got a coffee and I got me a Dr. Pepper too.
I've got coffee, guys.
Yeah, I had my teeth all messed up because Linus is getting. Look at this stuff. He fed me, and it's like a thing where it would get caught in my teeth.
That's the last, any kind of food you ever get at this place.
Let me take that all back then.
Ever.
Well, shit.
Hey, welcome to the show, Wrestling with the Rip Rogers on Von Lilas. Nice to meet you. Let me get this background changed. So we get the Stephen P. New banner up here.
Does it say Stephen P. New? Does it say live or live?
Yeah, probably neither.
Neither. Okay. Can't
Watch
have everything.
Look at this. Look at that.
All right, Stephen P. New.
There we go.
You got me on the right and you on the left. Okay. Wrestling was Rip Rogers.
We are very
Stephen
professional here.
Rip Rogers. And okay. Hey.
Thanks for joining us today. So I was just asking Rip a little bit earlier while we were doing the show. We take some Q&A questions beforehand. So we are live. We have a chat and everything like that about when you guys officially met. So I guess I didn't realize you met later on, like at a convention or something like that. But you used to go to like the ICW shows and stuff. Is that correct?
Yes. As I've told many times, the first match I ever watched was in August of 1981, and it was one-man gang Ronnie Garvin versus Rip's old tag team partner Ricky Starr for the Southeast Championship. You see that belt right back there? And that was the first match I ever watched, and from that point on, I was just hooked. And as Rip has said, West Virginia, Southern West Virginia, important part of the ICW territory, and these guys would come in and they would run big towns like Beckley, West Virginia, where I am right now, and small towns like Logan, Madison, Roncevert, Welch, and I would see those shows. So how often do you go? You went all the time then? I went every so often. I was an 11-year-old kid. It was hard to drive. So I would go when I could, and it wasn't too long, before the territory shut down a couple years later. And but I saw a few of the ICW shows, I think in either late 82 and 83. Nice. Was there any other wrestling around there? Just maybe some as outlaw shows or whatever, but was there other territories around there or TV? Yeah, besides ICW? It's a really interesting place because it kind of intersected and overlapped a lot of territories. Let me explain what I mean by that. Crockett would run certain towns in West Virginia, Bluefield, Beckley. Georgia would run Huntington, Wheeling, Logan, Williamson, Logan and Williamson being two small coalfield towns in southern West Virginia near where I'm from. And so, yeah, we got a good mix of NWA here with Crockett running at certain towns and Georgia running certain towns. And the first house show I ever saw was in June of '82, and it was a Georgia Championship Wrestling show with Dusty Rhodes versus Kabuki in the main event.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, who ran Charleston?
That was Georgia.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was Ole. Okay.
Yep. And then, but by '85, though, I saw the Great American Bashes, 86, 87, and '88 in Charleston, West Virginia. So, but by the time that the Bashes were coming along, that was Crockett. Obviously at that point, Georgia and the Carolinas had collapsed, and collapsed together under Crockett. And yeah, they ran everything in West Virginia at that point. But by the late '80s, WWF had never come any further south than Wheeling, which is in the northern panhandle, about 20-30 minutes from Pittsburgh. And then WWF started running Huntington and Charleston in the late '80s.
Rip, what do you remember about Beckley? Give me some Beckley stories.
Oh, the first time I went to Beckley, I went to the Raleigh County Civic Center there. That's where I had my first match at. So I had my first match with there because Steve Cooper was from Seth, West Virginia. And he happened to go home and saw there was wrestling there. So he wrestled there. And the building eventually burned down. It was a bowling alley. Etc. And it was Warren Schirnbach was a promoter and Shirley Love was the announcer on the TV station there. So he got me booked for the next week. So me and him drove, took my Pinto, and we drove it to Beckley, West Virginia. And I wasn't smart to the business. So I've told the story again, but I'm going to tell you right now so you can laugh about it. So there I am in the dressing room. Warren Schirnbach looks at me and he goes, you babyface or heel? I said, yeah. So, so I didn't know. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Then he asked me, he said, when you get the pencil, go home. So I said, when I get the pencil, go, what the fuck's he's talking about? I'm just talking out loud now. And what the fuck's he talking about? So some guy tells me to grab his arm. So I said, fuck you, motherfucker, right? As I'm going to the ring, I'm supposed to be a good guy, but hell, the stuff I saw on TV, I wanted to be like a bad guy. So I'm yelling at the fans and stuff, but I'm a good guy. So they were a little bit confused. So what the hell, right? So anyway, I have the match there. And Angel Ancevita he was from Oak Hill, West Virginia, and he happened to be home there. He'd been working somewhere, and so I met the Cuban Assassin that night for the first time. So I had this crazy match, and there's B.B. Coleman. He's over in the corner. I'm watching him cut up razor blades and put him on his fingers, right? And I'm going, holy shit, I hope I don't wrestle him. He'll just cut the shit out of me, right? But little did I know that 2 weeks later, B.B. Coleman would be taking me and Hoss Tweed, who was Ed Kerner, another school teacher from Seymour, Indiana. We would be going to work 2 shows for WWF, and we still ain't smart. And I'm working with Georgie Animal Steel and Mr. Fuji and Toru Tanaka, and then I bonded with Jim Myers because he was a coach. Football coach. I was a football coach, and there was Ed Kerner, who was a football coach too. So all the shit happened because of Beckley, West Virginia, WOAY TV, and then because when we went with ICW, I went and got the TV because a lot of them I would get, some Randy got, some Randy or the Miser would get. At one time, we had 14 TV markets.
Yes,
which was bigger than. My God, almost every territory in the United States except Crockett's.
Right.
They had so many markets, and I don't know. I don't think Tampa didn't have that many, but we went all the way to wrestle in Missouri with Camp Girardeau, Missouri. We had 4 TVs in Illinois alone. And then we had the ones that Memphis had. We had the Memphis, the Evansville, the Louisville, the Lexington TV. Then we had the ones like the Hazard. Then we had TV in Puerto Rico that actually paid us money for a tape. San Francisco would pay us for a tape. 2 tapes in Milwaukee would pay us, and the 2 shows in Montana would pay us. So we'd be making the tapes, but we would dub them out. And when the bus would go, whatever the bus thing was, would go on strike, I'd be in my Pinto delivering the loop, take about 24 hours and just delivering all those fucking tapes.
Yeah. And you guys were, you mentioned Hazard and that Eastern Kentucky portion.
Mm-hmm.
So you come east of Lexington into Kentucky and then into southern West Virginia. And then that toe of Southwest Virginia, you've got Lebanon, Virginia.
That's where Hoot Gibson was from, ladies and gentlemen.
Hoot Gibson, first professional wrestler I ever met live. He used to vacation at South Holston Lake in Bristol, Virginia. And he was fishing buddies with some friends of ours from Abingdon. And they knew I was a big wrestling fan. And when we would go to South Holston Lake, you guys were also in the Tri-Cities. On Channel 11 in Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City.
Right.
And so I could watch it on WOAY, or I could watch it on one of the Bristol stations when we went down there. And our friends from Abingdon, our fishing buddies, knew that I was an ICW fan, and they brought Hoot to the campground one weekend and said, somebody would like to meet you. And I was like 11, 12 years old, and it's Hoot Gibson.
Oh, fuck.
And I just completely marked out as, 11, 12-year-old kid meeting this guy that I'm seeing on television. I didn't even know the right questions to ask him. I was just kind of in awe, and he signed a poster or something for me. And it was the first professional wrestler that I ever met in person, Hoot Gibson.
So
holy shit!
In ICW only, who was your favorite from ICW?
Well, I loved all the baby faces and I hated all the heels. So I loved Ronnie Garvin, of course, and I loved when they turned Crusher Broomfield face. I loved Crusher Broomfield, and I loved Leaping Lanny. Who couldn't love Leaping Lanny? High flyer, talented, seemed like the nicest guy in the world, on the shows. And so, and what really I loved so much about ICW were the storylines. I just thought, and Rip, I don't know exactly who was booking all that stuff, if that was Angelo or if it was all of you guys, but, whether it's Ronnie Garvin breaking kayfabe on Randy Savage's name and being Leaping Lanny's brother, or the mop they put on Pistol Pez Watley's head and he wore that stupid thing around for a long time, or the pose down. The first heel versus heel that I ever remember was Hustler Rip Rogers versus Randy Savage in a bodybuilding contest.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, "Whoa, this is 2 bad guys fighting each other here," Then the time that Ronnie Garvin broke Ox Baker's dentures.
Oh, that was
I
awesome.
laughed myself stupid, even as a little kid, because I was scared to death of Ox Baker, Kabuki, and Radamias. And those guys scared me to death as a kid. And Ox Baker talking about the heart punch and killing people and all of that scared me to death. And then I realized he's got dentures like my grandpa. Can he really be that scary if he's got dentures and he's out there talking about his inability to eat a steak because of the one-man gang Ronnie Garvin? So, the kayfabe was starting to fall away by the time of the Ox Baker denture thing.
God, that's great.
So, did you ever think about getting into wrestling? Did you ever do anything in wrestling besides, what you're doing now, obviously, but like beforehand, get into wrestling at all?
No, I'm about 5'6". I had to gain 5 pounds to go to basic training in 1989. So other than perhaps having
perfect
been a
manager, referee.
Yeah, I could have been a manager or referee, but I wanted to be a lawyer since I was about 14 years old. And, I've stayed hyper focused on that. So never thought about getting into the wrestling business.
Give us a couple things in your background there. What?
All right, yeah, let's
what
take
you
a look
got?
at some of that.
I mean, you got all kinds of stuff. I can't see it.
Yeah, over here. Maybe we try to do this. You guys tell me what you're looking at here.
Well, I see some belts, and now I
you
see nothing. Oh, belts up there, yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That's a smoking skull belt. That's a big gold and a mid-Atlantic. And I hope that I can get this close enough for you. Recognize that, Rip?
That's our belt.
Yeah, that's our
That's
belt.
wild.
Yeah. And so here's some autograph stuff. I got that from Cornette recently. This is signed by Harley.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And my favorite wrestler of all time, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And I loved these mellow yellow cans when I was a kid. And so I bought that collection back a few years ago. That's a, let me see. Yep. That's a Charlotte signed by Flair and Steamboat. And one of the most prized possessions of mine, that is the Southeast
Eastern belt.
And an autograph from Ronnie Garvin to me.
Wow.
I purchased that from him a few years ago. That's one of my most prized possessions. And I'll try to get it on these legends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of these legends of pro wrestling. You have autographs from Harley Race, the Destroyer, Von Raschke, Vern, Thez, Bockwinkel, Bob Orton Sr., Bob Orton Jr. This is that's from Starrcade '83, the dog collar match between Piper and Valentine. That's a poster of the King. A couple years ago, we had him at the Bash in Beckley. And here's a poster that I've had since October of '91.
Sid Justice.
Huntington, West Virginia. Rowdy Roddy Piper versus the champ, Ric Flair. I was in college at Marshall and got to see that house show. It seemed like they taped all of those WWF shows for about 4.5 freaking hours to Huntington Civic Center.
Yeah.
There's some displays of the Four Horsemen, some autographs, some autographed magazines I've got.
Dang.
And I used to love these NWA Ringsiders that you could buy at the Georgia Championship Wrestling matches. And they were just little 4-page poster books, really. And that is a robe that Tully was going to wear to Starrcade. It lights up. And I bought that.
Holy cow.
A few years ago. A Smoky Mountain vinyl jacket.
Move the camera up just a little bit.
Okay.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. And
I see everything but a autographed picture of the Hustler Rip Rogers there. We've got to get that taken care of.
We absolutely do. I've got an autographed book.
Oh, you do?
But I don't have an autographed poster from Hustler Rip Rogers. But this is what I call my comfort room, my happy place at my law office, because behind me is the pro wrestling. To that side is the Star Wars collection. And over there is the comic book collection. So this is my happy place at my law office.
That is awesome, man.
Hey, on your comic book collection.
Yes.
I'm a Marvel man.
I am too.
Okay. Fucking DC's bullshit. Nothing could hurt Superman except green kryptonite. Where all of a sudden we got Spider-Man, Peter Parker never gets no pussy. He's always suffering. Aunt May ain't got no money. We got Matt Murdock, who's Daredevil. He's fucking blind.
Right.
All of a sudden we got Dr. Don Blake. He's a fucking gimp like me. Right. So all the Marvel comics, they were always suffering. They were always the baby faces. But they were always
and
jacked.
the X-Men,
Oh, all the X-Men.
my
Yes.
favorites are the X-Men, Outcasts.
Yeah. Look at
So,
that. Ben Grimm's walking around with 3 fingers, right? 3 fingers and a thumb. Oh.
well, since we're marking out about comic books, why don't we do this? If you guys have the time, so do I. There's my rack of graded books.
Oh wow, graded, huh?
Yeah, and you can see a bunch of them.
That's pretty cool.
Here's the Poison Ivy.
Wow.
Yeah, a bunch of really great books. This is a McFarlane, signed by McFarlane Spider-Man. First appearance of Zatanna. I love her. Love Batman. And let me bring
Who wrote Batman? Who wrote Batman?
Bob Kane.
That's right. Okay, I was just checking, see if you knew what the fuck was going on.
We just went and read it.
Oh, he read. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't have a Bob Kane Batman.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, here obviously I like a lot of the Star Wars books. I think I've got about every Star Wars. There's some Daredevil, and then I'll show you the pride of my collection. Some of them. That's
it. Must be nice being a rich and famous lawyer, man. Look at all this stuff he's got.
This is the Fantastic Four first appearance of Black Bolt that Gene Simmons says he based the Demon's outfit in part.
Oh, yeah.
Under the Demon outfit are based on that. And this graded 7.5 giant size X-Men #1. It's the first appearance of the quote new team with Wolverine in it. And speaking of that short guy from Canada, can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oops.
Yep. Oh, don't break him now.
All right. It's a Hulk 181 autographed by Stan Lee.
Wow.
That's cool.
And because there's a debate amongst comics fans, there's a Hulk 180 autographed by Stan Lee. So whether Wolverine's first appearance was 180 or 181, I've got both of them. Huge Star Wars fan. There's a bag. You could buy those at the grocery store back in the day.
Yeah.
For 99 cents. That's Star Wars #1, 2, and 3 in the bag. So, yeah.
Who knew we were going to get a tour of memorabilia today? That's pretty cool.
Well, Rip and I talked about that, but if we're going to talk about my happy place here, we've got to talk about the comic books as well as cool. The wrestling. It seems like, for the very reasons that Rip was saying, who the good guys are, who the villains are, and pro wrestling just overlaps a lot with comic books. I think Jim Cornette's a big comic book collector, and I usually try to get him for his birthday some type of graded book, and he always loves that. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
Hey, back to wrestling. This is a wrestling show, so we're gonna go back to wrestling.
Heck yeah.
Do you have a show that you went to in person that stands out, that was one of your favorite, or any of them that you would put up there?
I would say that the Great American Bash 1987. There was a David Allen Coe concert beforehand, and then a great show topped by Flair and Rhodes with a dusty finish, and the Road Warriors were on that card, the Midnight Express, that the whole cast of characters that were with Crockett at that time, and I just thought that's probably, I've been to WrestleManias, I've been to Royal Rumbles, I've been to SummerSlams, I've been to AEW's premiere in DC, seen a ton of shows, nitros, pay-per-views, what have you, and I think that Great American Bash in '87 is probably the best time that I've ever had at a pro wrestling match.
That's cool. Do you watch today's product? Do you watch wrestling? Do?
Yep. I usually record it, and then I'll try to get a couple of hours where, I can fast forward through the marginal stuff or stuff that I don't like, fast forward through the commercials. But I try to take in Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, and Collision every week. And with my schedule, I'm lucky to do that some weeks.
That's awesome, man. So what's it like being the most over
lawyer in the world
right now? What's
Well,
that like?
it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, I'll tell you. But yeah, I've been really blessed from the time that Cornette started putting me over when I sponsored his show. You know, and I was doing some legal work for him in the background at that time. You know, everything's just kind of seemed to snowballed. As you can imagine, if you're Jim Cornette's lawyer, you're going to stay busy because someone is always offended. But more so than that, Jim's got a great business mind. So, you know, I'm always talking to him about these ideas and, you know, these things that he wants to do and how best to protect himself. And, you know, like getting the trademark to the Midnight Express a number of years ago. That was a really smart thing for us to do, you know, and it was something that had never really occurred to Jim. Yeah, he had a common law trademark in Midnight Express, but once we applied to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, that put that issue to bed. But since Cornette, everything's kind of snowballed. I have been greatly blessed in my law practice, both on the side, you know, of what I do day in and day out. I handle some really big cases, do a lot of things that I love doing, do well at it. And then on the other side, I've had people, you know, some people, their cases and their things I can't talk about. You know, other times it's not a big surprise. The people in the professional wrestling industry who I represent from time to time, help them take care of things. Kevin Sullivan is a great friend of mine. I do whatever Kevin needs when he calls up. And just recently applied for a trademark for the Queen of Extreme for Francine. And, you know, it seems like we're always doing some things like that. Got Rock and Roll Express for the Rock and Roll Heat Seekers. And I'm not an intellectual property lawyer myself. But I have a business with a guy named Dusty Gwynn, who is an intellectual property lawyer. He's registered before the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So he does everything before the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And if it comes down to litigation or potential litigation, that's kind of my department.
Wow, that's good to know. So
yeah,
maybe we should trademark Hustler Rip Rogers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's long overdue.
So I don't know what all you can say, but how did you get connected with Cornette in the first place? Was it just because you were a wrestling fan? Did you reach out to him? Did he know you? How did your first meeting ever take place?
Well, I'll tell you that story in January of 2004, and it's the autograph is up there in the corner. We had a case in law school that we had to study. It was called Roy and Ruby Massey versus Jim Crockett Promotions et al. That's Latin for and others.
Well, how about that for you being a wrestling fan and then you
study this. Let me put this in perspective.
Wow, that's awesome.
In the early to mid 90s, I kind of got out of wrestling about 92, 93. I'd maybe watch Mania and Starrcade. Wasn't really feeling the product at that time in both WCW and WWF. But then I go to law school and I don't take a television. But at the Buffalo Wild Wings in Morgantown, West Virginia, they would show Raw and Monday Nitro every Monday night. And so my professor comes in, Professor Tom Cady, professor of torts and insurance, God rest his soul. He just passed away a couple months ago. He comes in one day to class, the torts class, midway through the very first semester, and he goes, "Who here is a wrestling fan?" And my buddies go, "New watches wrestling downtown every Monday night." Professor goes, "Oh, you brief Roy and Ruby Massey, and on Wednesday when you come in, you brief the rest of the class, and I want it with feeling, New." So I have to come in, I have to review the case. It's about the failure to provide security at the Beckley Raleigh County Armory and Civic Center. And some fan had thrown a ring marker in the ring and hit Bobby with it. Stan comes out of the ring and punches Roy Massey and breaks his orbital socket. Security takes Mr. Massey and his wife to the back. thinking we'll get a couple of autographs, we'll smooth this over. Cornette cuts a promo on him. Cornette calls him a black lung MFer, a no good son of a bitch, and and just cuts a promo on him, which then causes him to hire a lawyer and sue Jim Crockett, the Beckley Armory, the Midnight Express, and everybody. So the professor makes me tell the story and explain who these characters are. Beautiful Bobby, ladies and gentlemen. Who is beautiful Bobby? And I've got to tell who Bobby is. Sweet Stan Lane. Rock and roll Ricky Morton. Who is that, New? And I've got to tell the story. I have to tell what's going on in the ring. And one of the issues in the case, I kid you not, you can read the case. One of the issues was whether it was humanly possible to put as many swear words in as short a period of time as the witnesses said Jim Cornette did. That was one of the issues that the West Virginia Supreme Court had to decide. So the class is just rolling laughing at all of this. And there's a Legends Fan Fest in Charlotte in January of 2004, and I knew that the Midnight Express were going to be there. And I thought, I'm going to take a copy of this case down there, and I'm going to get it signed by the Midnight Express. Lawyer Mark here, right? I've got my little case. It's printed out. It's 12 pages. And Cornette just popped over there. Motherfucker, why the fuck are you studying this in law school, motherfucker? I mean, he just pops over the fact he couldn't believe that we studied that in law school just a few years before. He put it in his book a few years later because he loves the fact that he's in a law book in West Virginia. And we bonded after that. And then, fast forward 10 years or so, Last is doing his podcast. And, Brian Last calls me up one day and he says, hey, look, I think this Cornette podcast is going to take off. You may want to get in on the ground floor here. And I said, I think you're right, Brian Last. I think Cornette is money, and I'd love to be a sponsor, and the rest is history.
Wow. So how long has that been?
That was 2016, I believe.
2016. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So, excuse me if you said it. Who won? What? How'd the case end?
Well, the judge at the trial court dismissed it early. It goes to the Supreme Court. They write this really funny opinion and comes back, and it gets settled out of case. The insurance companies. I don't think Crockett had to go into pocket, but I think between the insurance companies for the Armory providing the negligent security and the insurance companies for Crockett, they all got it settled after the appeal was done. But I think Jim Crockett's deposition was taken in that case. And Cornette, if you've read that Midnight Express book, Cornette wrote down every night, everywhere they were, what the house was, and what they were supposed to have been paid. And then Crockett comes in the deposition, and he's under oath, and he's testifying inconsistently with what Jim knew the house was, how much money they made, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's funny to hear Jim tell that story about Crockett having to give that deposition in that case.
That's wild. So did you talk to Cornette then about the case?
Yeah, we talked about it. I've talked to the lawyers here in West Virginia that just, that they're like, it's the craziest thing I was ever involved in, Steve. And I was like, well, if it had Corny and the Midnight Express and Jim Crockett Promotions, I don't doubt it.
I mean, what are the chances you get that? So then that got you connected with Cornette. Then you started sponsoring the podcast. And then you guys have just been, we'll call you friends now, right? Since then. So
yeah, absolutely. And that kind of really restarted my interest in professional wrestling. I started building out my collection of things that I'd always wanted or that I had when I was younger, and then other sponsorships like All-Star Wrestling. And I met Rip a couple years later. He came back to a show in Madison, and I get to tell people like Ronnie Garvin or Rip Rogers or Crusher Broomfield, how great it was watching them as kids. Ronnie now is a part-time West Virginian. In the summer months, he lives in Pocahontas County, West Virginia, and he snowbirds to Florida. And, occasionally I'll call him, wish him Merry Christmas or something like that. yeah, so it's just been a lot of fun. I love the business side of it. When I get to deal with WWE or AEW or TNA or NWA, whatever it is, I like the business side of it. I love my wrestling clients. I wish I could give you guys my list of wrestling clients, but there's no way that I'm going to breach any kind of privilege or anything like that. But a lot of guys, through listening to Cornette or just otherwise, we'll exchange phone numbers. I'll get a call from somebody about, an issue, a provision in a contract that they're reading, or, a situation they're having personally. Jamie Noble. Jamie Noble is from Hanover, West Virginia, still an agent with WWE. He wrestled in WCW, lived his dream. I'm so proud of that boy. And, he and his wife had a situation happen here in West Virginia, and Jamie's on the road. He's freaking going to Saudi Arabia and everything else in the world. He's like, "Can you help me get this situation?" Of course I can. So I just try to make myself available as much as I can. I try to keep the heat at a minimum. Everybody seems to want to try to stir up stuff. They particularly the internet wrestling community wants to try to make something out of nothing or what have you. But I try to keep the heat to a minimum.
Well, you're not going to mention wrestlers, but I'm going to mention a wrestler because he was just on our show a couple weeks ago, and he brought up your name. So again, you can say what you want or can't say what you can't say or whatever, but he did bring you up. So then this actually appeared on Jim Cornette's podcast a little bit, and they were wondering if Stephen P. New was going to remember them now after being so big time. But Ace Steel was on our show, and he put you over big time and said that you were helping him out with the AEW stuff. And he couldn't say enough nice things about you. Anything you can comment on the Ace Steel and the AEW stuff?
Well, the only thing that I'll say there, and I heard what Ace said, very kind to me. We are greatly limited. Ace is correct about that. You're never going to hear me or Ace or Punk comment on the particulars. The only thing that I will say is that those are two of the most stand-up guys that I've ever met in any walk of life, let alone the sport of professional wrestling. And I'll always be here for those guys. That's really all that I can say. And I said this on my own podcast recently for your viewers, your listeners. I do a podcast called House of Kayfabe. We got to get Rip Rogers on there before too long as well. But I said this in dealing with AEW's legal team when that happened. When I first started dealing with Mega and Chris on AEW's legal team, 2019, I think they saw me as an extension of Jim Cornette. I think that they thought they were going to get on the phone and I would cut a Cornette promo or something like that. I'm not. I'm not Jim. I'm not on anybody's Mount Rushmore of anything. But the longer they dealt with me, the better the relationship got. And I think that, through all those situations in the last year and a half, that helped the situation greatly for me to have what I believe is a good relationship with the upper management of AEW. And Punk's obviously happy. He's in a good place. Ace is happy. He's in a good place. And I'll always be here for those guys. And as Ace said, the only person, and granted, she's not completely objective and unbiased, but the only person not subject to an NDA, who's not subject to confidentiality provisions, is Ace's wife, Lucy. And so, maybe one day she tells the story.
Man, I got a couple questions. So what I heard about all that is it sounded to me like you said that Punk and Steel were innocent and you got them a good payoff. So that's just what I heard out of all that. But
I can't confirm or deny.
Can't confirm or deny. The other thing is, so on the whatever you call it, an NDA, is that what it's called?
Yeah, non-disclosure agreement.
And is that for life?
Yes,
it is for life.
It is. Yes.
And then let me ask you this question. I don't know if you can answer it or not. Why did Steele's wife Why was that not placed on her? Was that part of just like the deal, or is it
That was just part of the deal.
so she could comment on it, but nobody else can? I find okay. Maybe we need to get her on here then. But no, that's awesome, man. Somebody in the chat wanted to know your winning percentage. What kind of winning percentage do you have? You have any idea?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good whatever. I think I've lost 7 trials out of 55. So whatever that maths to, divide 48 by 55.
It's a pretty good record.
Yeah, that's a pretty good record in 25 years of trying cases. Every now and then, speaking of a case, and this is a matter of public record, Cornette commented on the guy slicing his arm open with the light bulb a few years ago. And we went to Pennsylvania and sued and, went through all this money and expense and all of that kind of stuff to go all the way to Pennsylvania and bring a lawsuit. We get the financials. They've made $800 on the shirts. And Cornette spent over 10 grand. And Cornette's like, God damn, drop it. And he finds out they've sold $800 worth of T-shirts. And to take it to the mat, it's going to cost about $50,000 to pursue $800 worth of Jim's likeness on some type of an outlaw T-shirt. And, every now and then somebody that doesn't like Cornette will needle me. Well, you lost the temporary restraining order in the Graver case. Yeah, we lost the temporary restraining order because Cornette didn't want to spend 50 grand chasing $800 worth of T-shirts.
That is awesome. So ever since A Steel has been on here, there's been a lot of stuff about you. And then Cornette came out with that little clip about our clip. So that even, blew it all up a little bit more. But I, just reading through the comments and stuff, there are a lot of people out there that just almost thought you were not even a real person, just like a character on Cornette's podcast. Have you gotten any of that? What do you have any?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people will, inbox message me or something and be like, are you a real guy? Are you really licensed to practice law somewhere? We thought you were this character, because Jimmy's got these characters on his podcast, the landscapers and the contractors and the people that work for him, and they've all got these names that he gives them and, this, that, or the other. And I honestly think that a lot of people thought that I wasn't a real guy, which is mind blowing to me because I'm just me, I'm just a guy here in Beckley, West Virginia, blessed to be doing what I've dreamed of doing since I was 14 years old, who happens to love the sport of professional wrestling. I've got a law license in the state of West Virginia and have for 25 years. And I've got cases from New York to California right now in about a dozen different states. And, so I'm doing well and I'm 100% real.
Yeah, somebody just asked if you do, you take cases nationwide, basically, or not just in your area. That's
and I can explain that. This is the boring part of the program, viewers. You're going to hear about the law. Another Latin term. Vaughn's like, shoot me now, Rip. He's going to use another Latin term.
No, good, man.
But it's called pro hoc vice. And if you have a license in your home state, and you associate with a lawyer in another state, like I'll be doing in California soon, that lawyer basically sponsors you and says, look, this guy isn't a goober. He's not going to mess this case up. And we need to admit him on a temporary basis in this state. And that's how I've got cases in New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kentucky, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. I got a big case against the New York Times in Alabama right now for the son of the Marshall University athletic director. And I'm telling you, I'm hot about it. I'm pissed off, and we're going to tag the New York Times, I believe, in Alabama.
Wow. Shit. Breaking news right here on Wrestling with Rick.
We survived their BS motion to dismiss on First Amendment grounds. They did this boy wrong. They said that he was involved in a shooting and a murder, after a basketball game, and he wasn't even there. He was back at his dorm room, and yeah, I can't wait to do that case in Alabama.
Wow, that's good, and good to hear you fired up, man.
Yeah.
Hey, how much business? You don't have to, be specific or anything. How much business do you think you get from Cornette's podcast? I mean,
we probably get 10 calls or 10 contacts through the website a week. Easy. That's on the low end. Some of the things, it's just outside of my area of specialty. Jim makes people believe that I can do anything in the world, or like that I specialize in everything in the world, and I don't. And I try to call the Cornette listeners back as well as I can, just to explain to them or to guide them through the process if I can, if it's a do-it-yourself kind of thing. And there's lots of stuff in the law. People don't realize there's lots of do-it-yourself kind of things that you can do. Other things may just be outside of my area of expertise or specialty. And I tell the people that I'd say anywhere from 10 to 15 a week, I'll get contacted by somebody.
So it's been worth it on your sponsorship of the show.
Absolutely.
Were you responsible for the theme music or your commercial music, your sponsorship music, the words, any of it? Did you have to approve it at least? Anything?
I did not. That was sprung on me, and I loved World Class back in the day, I love the Von Erichs. I'm looking forward to seeing the movie this weekend. And, when World Class came on ESPN, man, it might have been 85 or so. But, and I have to say something. I always like to remember my dearly departed uncle, Tommy Dwayne Lee. And Tommy Dwayne, he had one of these huge West Virginia wildflower satellite dishes out in his front yard in about 1982, 1983. And Tommy Dwayne would record wrestling for me from all over the country and bring me like a bag of VHS tapes. So very early on, you're asking about wrestling that we got access to here in West Virginia. My uncle was taping everything from around the country that he could for me. I probably got to see World Class before it came to ESPN, in the mid 80s, but that's the World Class theme. I did not approve any of that. And Brian Last and Jim Cornette just sprung that on me one day, and all of my friends popped. And, lots of people say now, well, daggone, you knew. I can't hear the World Class theme now without thinking of your stupid ass. So that's kind of the rest of the story on that. But that was a guy named Rocky the Ramon who put that together for Cornette and Brian Last. But I love it.
You want to give it to us again, Rip? You got it?
I need to do stereo, but I can't split my voice or anything like that.
So and then it says something about the mud shows or something. Doesn't it? You ever get heat from any outlaw wrestling companies?
Yeah, the Graver case that I told you about. Basically, anytime Cornette starts to criticize something, I'll get a little bit of I'm collateral damage to some of Jim's rants every now and then. I bet Rip can identify with me there on being the collateral damage.
What the hell, right? Hey, anytime you're messing with geniuses, they're all out there, and you take the good with the bad, because if you didn't let them do the bad, you wouldn't get to see the good.
That's exactly right. So, occasionally I'll have the Outlaw Mud Show guys, or the people that don't like him criticizing AEW quite so much, and that's a thing that I try to explain to people. I'm not Cornette, obviously. He's considered one of the greatest of all time. His tag team's considered one of the greatest of all time. I'm not an extension of him. Don't share all of his opinions. Share a lot of them. Share most of them, but not all. Including some of the stuff on AEW and some other things. But I do get some flack back from the Outlaw Mud Show types every now and then.
But you said earlier you still watch AEW though, so
yeah,
he watches it, but typically criticizes it. But do you enjoy any of it?
Oh yeah, I enjoy I love Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I met him in 2019 over WrestleMania weekend. Jim was there announcing for MLW, and Jim introduced me to MJF and Selena De La Renta, and I got to meet Dan Severn that weekend, and a bunch of really other great people. Court Bauer, I like Court. I don't think that Brian Last cares for him very much, but I like Court very much. I like Mr. Saint Laurent, and I've always enjoyed MLW's product, but I love MJF. I think he's going to end up being one of the greatest of all time when this is all said and done. And, Jim was telling me in 2019, watch this kid. When
Yeah.
he was with Dynasty and he was with Hammerstone and he was with Richard Holiday, Jim told me before the shows started, he said, watch the kid I introduced you to, MJF. He's going to be the biggest thing in this business. And he said the same thing about Selena De La Renta. And, I love her to death. I'm waiting for her to get her shot. But I watch AEW, Dynamite and Collision every week. There's a lot on there that I like. I like more of the traditional wrestling. I like Ricky Starks. I love Big Bill. He's a great guy. We had him in Beckley here a couple of years ago.
Might be the first person that's ever said that.
Hey, I am so proud of that young man and everything that he's been through in his personal journey.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And what he's overcome. I can always respect somebody who has conquered their demons and gone on, because it's real easy for all of us in any walk of life to give in to our demons and have something bad happen. So I'm proud of that young man, if for no other reason, kind of what he's been through. But yeah, I like the more, traditional guys. I like Christian. I'm glad Edge is there. Brian Danielson. I'm just not into some of the Japanese style stuff or what have you. And I think their women's division is finally getting some come up. I think it's taken them a long time to get their footing, but I think Tony Storm's just a gazillion bucks. And I'm glad Thunder Rosa is back.
So in the wrestling, people in wrestling, who either do you think is the most famous wrestler you met, or maybe the most happy for you to meet? Like who's the one that you met and you're like, I finally got to meet so and so.
I'm going to tell this story because I met Dusty Rhodes one time at a fan fest in Charlotte, and as you can see from my display back here, he was my favorite growing up. The common man, and I didn't know that this was Virgil Runnels that was booking all this stuff. To me, he's the guy with the Hard Times promo, and he's the guy in Georgia and Florida and the Carolinas. Hell, I saw him show up in Madison Square Garden one night unexpectedly, or at least, unexpectedly on an MSG show in about 1982. And to me, he was bigger than the world. I got to meet him at this fan fest in the early 2000s. And I hand him my cell phone and I go, will you record my voicemail? Yeah, $50. Okay, Dream, here's $50. And so he goes into the Kings and Queens and Slip in the Alley and Eat Pork and Beans promo. And he gets to the end of it, and I'm over there watching him, and I say, tell him who you are. And he goes, man, they know who the fuck I am. That's how my voicemail ended. But I kept that as my voicemail message for many times, for many, many years that he started. Hey, you have reached Steve New's cell phone. It's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
That is awesome.
And so to me, of all the people I've met, of all the people that I've spent, a lot of quality time with, just that one interaction that I had to pay $50 for with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes is right up there. But Vaughn, and I know we're running short on time here, guys, but man, I am abundantly blessed, to be able to interact with people like Hustler Rip Rogers. 1/3 of the Convertible Blondes. We haven't spent enough time talking about Rip Rogers. here. And, Vaughn, whether it's with me or some other ICW fan that you get back on here, talk about Hustler Rip Rogers and a guy in ICW, WCW, whatever it was that could go. And he's teaching young wrestlers. The people who have respect for Rip Rogers, they know he's the real deal. They know that he knows, what we used to say in the Army, what right looks like. Hustler Rip Rogers knows what the professional wrestling industry is supposed to be, what you're supposed to do as a wrestler. And I mean, it's in Hustler's DNA, and he's passing that on to the younger generation now because he knows. You listen to those names. WWF, are you kidding me? He was a part owner with Angelo Poffo, Randy Savage, Ronnie Garvin of in my opinion, a great little independent outlaw territory that ran and put on great matches and great cards. So to be able to develop a friendship with somebody like Hustler Rip Rogers, where they've got your cell number, they've got you on Facebook, Les Thornton, someone like that, who feels comfortable texting or calling you and saying, hey, I've got a question for you. It could be about a freaking dishwasher warranty or something. And I'm going to take that call and help those people out as best I can.
It's a great promo on you, Rip. Maybe he owes you money, man. That was awesome.
I'm tearing up over here.
That was very good, man. Hey, and it's been mentioned in the chat, and I haven't said anything. Thank you for your service as well. So people were saying that.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Tomorrow, December 23rd, that's my entry date into the military. I signed up 6 days after my 17th birthday, and I was in tanks. I went to basic training at 17 years old, went to Fort Knox, became an armor officer, and I'm really proud of my military service. I couldn't have gone to college and law school had I not joined the military like a lot of other sons of coal miners. But yeah, I'm proud of my service. Loved all those guys and gals that I served with for 20 years.
That's awesome. You mentioned a podcast. We're getting ready to wrap up here. You mentioned your podcast. What else you got? What do you got to plug? I mean, you got the law office. I mean, everybody hears that on Cornette. You can plug it here too. But the podcast,
go to newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. You can email me, steve@newlawoffice.com anytime. If I can't help you, I will do my best to try to point you in the right direction. And you can find me on Twitter at Stephen P. New. And the podcast that I do with a gang of other guys here in Southern West Virginia that I love dearly, House of Kayfabe. And you can find us anywhere on the social media, YouTube. Give us a like. Rip, I'd love to have you on sometime. You are, make no mistake about it, you're a legend, my friend. If you don't believe me, you ask any other fellow legend of yours, and they're going to tell you the exact same thing that I just said. You will always be over in my book. I hated you so bad as a little kid. You and Gary Royal and Ricky Starr and Pez Watley. I despised the convertible blonde. They were awful, awful heels who beat up my babyface fan favorites that I was rooting for. But you got so much to be proud of, Rip.
Holy shit.
All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on here. That was awesome, man. Today was great. Really
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You were wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Da-da-da-dun, 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 da-da-da-dun. I got rid of. We got rid of. He's gone, and now Danny is here.
What is up, my brother?
Yeah, what is that? What is all that stuff back there? Looks wild.
That's his studio.
I mean, hold on, I'm gonna change his background. I don't know. You got like the
oh damn, yeah, that might be from that's the display screen on my external camera. And I don't know how to turn that off, to be honest with you, from here.
I mean, it's not really hurting anything.
Is it distracting?
No, it's fine. I mean, just has all your personal information on there, but besides that, it's all right. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's the display screen actually on my camera, so it's not anything actually personal.
I mean, really, it's not a big deal.
Okay, if you're cool, I'm cool.
I'm cool with it. Yeah. Big Dan Mason in the house, Rip.
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude.
know,
We've
we're
been
just-
on fire today. Two 2 hours in. You're wrapping this thing up. So you got a lot to follow after Stephen P. New was just on.
Okay.
Hey,
No pressure.
Hey, first of all, Danny, are you 6'7"?
Yeah, I am 6'7".
Do you weigh like 295 pounds of fucking shred?
yeah. Actually, I
Hey,
am. I'm
excuse
down.
me. Excuse me. The people you were working for, they got to be fucking stupid. I could make you the biggest goddamn star of working and not giving a shit about moves. I can see how many different characters. I would be having you a character that you would be changing. You'd have the goddamn manager. You go into fucking hypnotist, and you're coming out of, you're this kind of character. Then all of a sudden something ain't working. They ding the bell, and you go into a fucking trance. And now you're fucking Mark Lewin, and you're doing a crazy fucking walk, and you're somebody else. Holy shit! You're 6'7", 293 to 5 pounds, depends if you had any sodium or not. And looking fucking great in the prime of life, fucking legit ass motherfucking athlete.
A lot of F-bombs.
Well, I get fucking carried away and shit, Anyway, just putting you over.
Rip, hey, I'll never interrupt you putting me over, Rip. Be my guest, brother.
Hey, I'm just trying not to get kicked off YouTube. It's nothing.
Be my guest, brother. Yeah, dude. I appreciate that. I think that's why you and I work so well together. You always saw what I bring to the table out, and then on top of you just being an excellent mind for the business. I think that's why we work so well together. And by work so well together, I mean I just did whatever you told me.
Were you with him? Were you with Rip first, or did you train before that?
No, so I trained. So I started training at OVW, and first Matt Capitelli was running the beginners class, and I hopped in his class. But right after the beginners class, Rip's class would go, so I would stick around and just watch. And I think like my second or third week, Rip was just like, "How about you hop in?" And I was just like, but I haven't finished the beginner's course. And he was just like, stand at the back of the line, watch everyone before you. He was like, you'll figure it out. And I was just like, okay, fuck, let's do it. And so that's how that started.
So you just saw 6'7", 290, and
yeah, I saw fucking star. You know what I mean? If you ain't even been in the, I said, whatever it is, I don't care if you've ever been in a ring before. Just get in goddamn line, but let everybody else fuck up, and I'll yell at them. And then by the time you get there, you look polished because you're 6'7" to begin with. You're 293 to 295, a fucking jacked fucking athlete, and you're gonna fucking get this because I'm gonna fucking drum this shit in you to try and make you fucking good. Yeah. God damn.
It really is that easy when it comes to like class, at least, especially if you're not the first person going.
Right.
You just get to watch everyone else's mistakes. And then if you're actually paying attention, you just don't make those mistakes. And then shit is easy. So
it sounds like Rip was nice to you, though. Did you ever get the ding, get the fuck out of the ring? Did he ever kick you out? Did he ever turn on you? He turned on everybody else. So he must have.
No, I've heard that. Rip's never turned on me.
Oh man.
But also
spot picker.
But also, I think Rip turns on people who either aren't giving effort or are dumbasses. And I think I've managed to avoid being both of those things.
I mean, we've had some of the biggest WWE superstars on this show that have all gotten the ding, get the fuck out of the ring by Rip. Mark Henry just said he did.
Huh?
Well,
I'm not Mark Henry.
Everybody's fucking different. Hey, give some of these people who don't know too much about you, about you growing up, the stuff you played, playing ball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To get yourself get over.
You want me? I'm playing humble right now, but I'll I could turn that shit on if you want me to.
Fucking turn that shit on.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know me, names on the bottom of the screen here. I'm Dan Matha. I'm 6'7". Like Rip just said, I'm somewhere between 285, 295, depending on the sodium intake on the day. Played football growing up, amateur wrestling, all state in both sports, Pennsylvania, all state, sophomore or senior year. Got recruited to about every school, Division I school in the country. Ended up going to the University of Pittsburgh, where I actually didn't play at the University of Pittsburgh, but transferred to a Division II school, IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I was a first-team All-American. Started 23 games on the offensive line, Gene Upshaw Award finalist. And from there, I had an opportunity to play with the Cincinnati Bengals briefly, but I was up there, played there, little stint in the CFL before I became a professional wrestler.
Sweet. What was the CFL like? How long were you there? And
I hated it.
You hated it? Is that why it ended? Because you hated it?
No, that's not why it ended. I shouldn't say I hated it. It's just not American football. There's 3 downs. The field's so much. The field is an extra 40 yards longer, 10 yards wider. The rules are different. They were trying, they gimmicked the game to make it more exciting. Some of those things got adopted into the Arena League football, but I don't know. I just didn't love it. Plus, as an offensive lineman, I don't love throwing the ball every down. I want to put my hand in the dirt. I want to be able to fire off. I want to maul people, As an offensive lineman, I want to go forward. I don't want to go backwards. I want to smash you, I want to stretch your gap. So now you have to make a choice, right? You got to make a choice. Am I going to let this guy stretch my gap, or am I going to keep contained? In keeping contained, am I going to get my arm inside your armpit, and am I going to forklift you onto your back? Right? That's what I want to do. Or are we going to just straight up run power, right? Mano, me versus you. I'm coming. I'm not even going to hide it. I'm letting you know. Hands in the dirt. Hey, buddy, I'm coming right for you. That's what I enjoy doing.
So, what other leagues were going on then? What other leagues? Was USFL, XFL, Arena, anything else going on at that time?
XFL was not a thing. Arena was obviously going on, but not my cup of tea. Yeah. And I don't think USFL was going. That was really the only thing that was going at that time.
Okay, yeah, a couple of it kind of come and gone and come back. So
yeah.
So then you decide after that, you're like, all right, I'm going to be a wrestler. That was.
Well, actually, so here's the crazy story. I always knew I was going to be a wrestler when I was done playing football.
Yeah.
I always knew I was going to be a professional wrestler. I just didn't know when or how that was going to happen. But the night before I got released by the Montreal Alouettes, I had a dream that I left Montreal to start wrestling. Oh, wow. And I woke up, had a bunch of missed calls from the general manager, text messages. And so I went into the studio, and they were just like, hey, blah, 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 we're releasing you. Kind of was out of nowhere. So I was kind of salty about that. And so I'm in the airport drinking airport beers, as one does in an airport. And my agent, it's still early in camp. So my agent has hit me up. Hamilton, Toronto, Saskatchewan wants to bring me in. But the whole time I just keep thinking about this dream. I'm just like, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And so I call my college coach, my offensive line coach, and I, talked to him about everything that kind of just went down. And so then his next question was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was just like, I think I'm going to wrestle. And he just responded back, fuck yeah. And then I responded back, fuck yeah. And then that took place about a couple times. And then we got off the phone, and I called my agent Al back, and I'm just like, hey, Al, it's been a great run, but I'm done, man. And he was like, okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. I think he heard in my voice that I was serious. And we went from there. Then I had to call my Gramps and be like, hey, Gramps, I just got released, and I am broke because I just spent the last of my money on airport beers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of how that journey started. I went back home, stayed with my gramps, got a job, started searching for schools, and then I found OVW.
Did you look at other places, or had you heard of OVW? How did you come up with OVW?
Yeah. So, well, I'm from Pennsylvania, so I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Let me hold on real quick. What year was that? With the contract?
2016, right? 2015.
Oh, so the contract was it was in Florida at that time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had actually called the Wild Samoans in Allentown, PA first, because they were only like 4 hours from where I lived. And so I was like, and they had a good track record from what I knew and as an outsider looking in on the business. And so I called them. No one picked up, left a message. No one got back to me. I left made a couple calls. No one ever got back to me. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure something else out. And so I called OVW, and it was actually Matt Capitelli's number directly. He picked up on like the second ring. And Matt and I had like 45-minute conversation, kind of told him who I was, my rundown, and what I was trying to do. And he was like, all right, man, it's the X amount of money. We start October 18th. I'll see you then. And I was like, all right, see you then.
Wow. It's pretty wild. Capitelli was awesome. I knew him a little bit. He was super guy, I thought. I never had him as a trainer at all, but I really liked him. What was it like when you showed up? Was it anything what you were anticipating? Thoughts of getting in the ring the first time? Anything like that?
Well, first of all, on Matt was one of the best human beings I have ever met. I've never met too many guys as stand up as Matt Capitelli. And that dude was like a guardian angel in my life. Like he came in, like God put him in my life. He knew what he was doing when he put him in my life. It was the little bit of time I got to spend with Matt was invaluable. And I still cherish it to this day.
Matt was the man that everybody's supposed to be.
Amen.
We're not. He was.
Amen to that, Rip. You hope your sons grow up like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. He was a great dude, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
We would, so to get back to your question, I didn't really know exactly what to expect. I knew about OVW. It's, tradition. It was one of the reasons why I'd called OVW. It was like, used to be the developmental center for the WWE. It's got, this has got to be a great place to start to get to the WWE. And so my expectations were, okay, I'm going to come and I'm just, this is going to be a place where I'm going to learn by baptism, right? Fire by baptism type situation. Physically, I wasn't super worried just because the physical shape, I'm always in like top tier shape. I've been playing sports my entire life. So from a physical standpoint, I was like, okay, this is going to be, I don't want to say easy, but I'm here. I'm ready for the challenge, whatever it is.
Right.
At that point, I had enough experience in my life to realize, okay, like anything, I'm going to come into this thing and I'm going to suck, right? Anytime you do something, the first time you're going to suck at it, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm going to suck, but I'm going to come with great energy and enthusiasm, and I'm going to just do what is asked of me and give all that I can do. And the rest, I'll just figure it out as I go. I'm not someone who likes to overthink shit. I'm more of a running gunner. Let's go. Let's figure it out on the fly. So that was kind of my anticipation to that. Now, when I got to OVW, I'm used to, multi-million-dollar facilities, right? I'm used to.
You didn't think that bathroom was multi-million-dollar facility?
No.
that one shower and one toilet, or what?
Yeah, I'm not even sure if we had the shower, to be honest. But I'm used to state-of-the-art equipment, facilities. Everything is kind of very pristine. And I got to like the warehouse, and there was like water leaking from the ceiling. There was like a divot in the ring. And I was like, all right, you could smell like stale popcorn on the floor and shit. And I was like, all right, well, this is a little different. But we're here.
You should have went to the old building, Rip. In Jeffersonville, Indiana. The old building, the new building made the old building. I mean, or I should say the other way around. The old building made the new building look like everything you're saying you expected. It was way worse.
Okay. But honestly, though, I kind of like, I didn't hate it. It's just like, okay, here we go. This is, you don't need much. You don't need much. Look at the Soviets, right? Back in the day when it came to athletics, they spent all their money in R&D rather than equipment, and they produced some of the greatest athletes to this day. Right. And so you don't need a lot. If you have good coaching and you want what it is that you say you want, like, you can achieve anything anywhere. So I wasn't super pressed about that.
Yeah. So did you know right away then, like, yeah, this is it. This is for me.
Yeah, I remember the very first thing we did was we had to cut, like, it wasn't, hey, take a lap, let's do body weight squats or any of this. It was like, cut a promo. You got a 60-second promo.
Oh.
That was the very first thing.
Yeah.
And you guys know how it is in wrestling. The second you say promo, wrestlers are like, all tense and shit, and everyone's buttholes puckered. And so I just was like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to just seize the day. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I cut a 60. I mean, in my mind, it was probably the best promo ever, but in actuality, I'm sure it was shit. I'm sure it was a shit promo, but I did it with great confidence and enthusiasm. And so if you can do that, you can bullshit about a lot of stuff.
For sure. So then you got it in the ring, though, eventually.
Yeah, I got into the ring. And so the ring was, it was great, but figuring out the finesse of the work, as we say in the business, but how do I look super physical, be super physical without killing my opponent across from me? How do I work with someone who's going to want to continuously work with me? That was probably the thing I needed to iron out the most early on, because I'm coming from football mode where it's and just, I want to smash everything as hard as possible. I'm going to dominate you. Yeah. And so that was probably early on, figuring that out was probably the biggest challenge.
That's what I'm saying, though. Once you got in the ring and started doing that, did you know, yes, this, because some people, when I started, there was 6 people that started with me, and I was the only one that went back the next week. So, any thoughts of not coming back? You knew once you.
Oh no, bro! I was all in. I moved. I packed up everything that I owned, which wasn't much. I had a '96 Cadillac Eldorado, gold with a maroon soft top. Bought it for 3 G's off this old lady who kept it in her garage forever.
Oh God, yeah.
Don't get no better than that.
And I was living out of it for a couple of weeks before I ended up finding a place down in Louisville. And so I was all in. I moved. There was no going back. There was no plan B. This was it. So the thought of this not working out, it was never present.
So give us some more stuff with you guys then when you got into Rip's class.
Yeah, well, so to answer your question about when did I realize, how did that feel? How did wrestling feel? Did I know if it was for me? Wrestling's interesting because it takes you a while to get good enough to really enjoy your work, to actually get a response from an audience, to put a coherent match together that is that's good enough that people understand what's happening and for reactions to happen. And for a while, you just suck so bad you never get that. But I remember very specifically the first time that had happened, where Rip would, I think it was some days we'd break down matches in pieces, segments, right? Just work on a shine, just work on a cutoff, just work on the heat, work on it, and you would do just one of those things, and then slowly you would integrate one, and then the second, and then the third, and then next thing you know, you have a whole. Next thing you know, 10 minutes goes by, and you just put a whole match together.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember the very first time that happened, I left practice. I'm driving to my job, and I just uncontrollably just broke out into laughter. And like just a madman by myself. And I just remember being like, this is it. I love football. I loved it. I loved competing. I loved working with the guys. It was my Willy Wonka's golden ticket out of my environment as a youth. But like this pro wrestling was what I was put on the earth to do.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so Rip's crazy antics in class and his demand for effort and high pace and attention to detail, I'm wired like that. So I was like, it was normal to me. So I was all for it. And I think that's probably why and he was so willing to give me so much information. When I look at it now, it's, also I was a sponge. And I just, I was coming to class early. I was trying to get as much information from him as I could. And so I think, I know now as a coach, when I have somebody who is hungry, I'm that much more willing to give information and to go out of my way to help people. So I imagine the same thing's true for all coaches. So I think that he probably saw that, and that's probably why we worked. He didn't tell me to get the fuck out of the ring.
That's because you were 6'7" and 295. Do you remember telling him to get in the ring, like when he was watching your class? Do you remember have any memories? Anything you got, Rip? Give some Dan Matha stories. And by the way, some people are saying in the chat they were looking some stuff up on you. Your NXT name was Dorian Mack. Is that how you said it?
Yeah, Dorian Mack.
Dorian Mack. So there's some people looking up some matches, I guess, or whatever. So you might want to try Dorian Mack. I'm not sure what all comes up under Dan Matha. If you wrestled in NXT under Dan Matha ever, or was it mostly?
Yeah, actually, it was until like the last year and a half, 2 years, I actually wrestled under Dan Matha.
Okay.
And then when they were getting ready to bring me up onto NXT, they were onto the show NXT. That's when the name switch happened. Got it.
Yeah, I'd seen some stuff with what's his name? They put you with a tag team, right?
Yeah, we had a group. Me, Riddick Moss.
Yeah.
Robert Stone, and we had this group called the Outliers, and yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun group. The dynamic was very interesting.
We'll get to more. We'll get to NXT. Give us some stuff, Rip. Come on.
Well, hell, he was just coming to class, chasing a dream. And I knew that he's going to start at the bottom of the barrel of the other guys. And I already know he's a champion. And he's going to conquer anything he wants because he's got that goddamn mindset. And you can't teach 6'7" in the prime of fucking life that's fucking jacked and he knows physicality. Now we just got to convert this over the mental part of it I want you to beat the shit out of the guy without touching him pretty much.
Right.
And I don't want you taking a whole bunch of bumps because you only got so many bumps on the bump card because if used right, you're going to register, maybe go to a knee. You ain't never going to flat back in your goddamn fucking life. Fuck that. And then you can work around all this stuff. And most guys, by the time they half-ass got a shot, their body's half fucking crippled from doing the fucking stupid shit. So don't do stupid shit. Learn to sell, learn the facials, learn the body language, learn the intensity. We'll keep you in goddamn character 24/7, and everybody else can have their phony high spot fucking matches. You don't have to do any of that you don't have to do none of that shit, and you'll stick out because, man, I don't know what that guy's doing, but I'm watching every second of it because you're working. Other guys are doing fucking moves and they're all worried about getting their goddamn shit in like a bunch of fucking marks. Excuse me. I'm always going to fucking tell it like it is, and anybody don't like it, fuck you too. So such is life. Just be a goddamn star, right? You're put on this earth to be a goddamn fucking wrestler because you need the fucking perks. God gave you the goddamn body. He gave you the goddamn worth ethic, and all you got to do is fucking put your nose to the fucking grindstone, work your ass off, but then you got to learn the simple shit that nobody wants to learn because they want to learn how to do a triple fucking Lindy, splits, moonsault, whatever. And then they can cover them and they kick out on one. So what the fuck? And don't cover them unless you're going to win.
It's funny. All these things Rip kind of just pumped into my head early on, and then which made a lot of sense. But it's one thing to hear something and it to make a lot of sense early on, and then you have to apply it. And so as I got more experience, got more matches under my belt, the things that he was saying, though I understood them, started actually clicking and making more sense as time went on. And then I was fortunate enough to be around some other great, coaches and teachers as well that would echo the same thing back. And I was like, okay. And then sometimes it's, it's like when your parent says something to correct you all the time or tells you this piece of information and it doesn't click. And then some random person says it and then it finally clicks. Good bit of that always happened as well. And it's just like, it's almost like an onion. There's like layers of learnings, how to do, doing less, making it mean more. Like you can understand that, and then you get to a certain level and then you really understand it. And then you get to another level and you understand it differently. And as you keep going to these next levels, it's the same simple, tried and true principles that Rip is like teaching that just keep making more sense, or you understand more as you become more experienced.
How long did you end up being in OVW?
A little under a year. I think it was like 7 months. I'd got there, and then I think within like 10 weeks, I had gotten a tryout with the WWE, and I went down, had the tryout right away, and then at the end of the tryout, they said they were going to sign me, or did sign me, but there was like a 9-month wait time from being signed to when they had me actually report, and so I stuck around in Louisville for a while to continue training before I went down to Orlando to train.
Anybody else you remember at that tryout, or anybody else get signed from that tryout that you remember?
There were some people that got signed, but nobody who is still with the company or ever panned out in terms of becoming a weekly episodic television character.
Got it. So when you ended up going to, was it NXT at that time?
Yeah. They had just got to Orlando.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah. I think they had been at the Performance Center for maybe half a year by the time that tryout happened. They're fresh in the building.
What did you think of that place then when you went there?
Oh, it was great. Much different. You go in the big room, there's 7 rings in there. They've got like a mock stage. You've got a giant weight room full of staffed with everything that you need, a training room. You got a film room upstairs, or multiple film rooms. You've got a promo room. You've got a kitchen. I mean, it was nice.
Everything you needed.
Everything you needed, man.
Who was head trainer at that time? Was that like a beginner class, advanced class setup at that time, or who did you start with there?
Robbie Brookside was the beginners coach at the time. And so my group, obviously I started training with Robbie Brookside for the first couple months, and then you would kind of move off to like different coaches. And, obviously each coach has their own style, but some, were considered beginner or intermediate level coaches. And then, you had the Terry Taylors and the Shawn Michaels that were for the more advanced TV guys. You kind of worked your way up. But like really the nice thing was just being able to get access to all the coaches. They started doing a thing where every couple months you would rotate
Okay.
your coaches. So, for 3 or 4 months, you would be with Robbie. And then after that, you would, you'd go with a different group of guys into a different, you would be with Norman Smiley, right? Then Steve Carino, right? You just kind of move around. Scotty too, you just kind of got to train with a bunch of different coaches.
So take us to that NXT then a little bit. Some of the guys who were there, you're starting out. How long, maybe, if you remember, before you had your first match or TV match or?
Yeah, first match, I was there like 6 months, and then they started letting me. I remember my first match was actually at the Arnold Classic when they would go to the expo and hold matches, and that was my first match with the company, and that was a cool experience. That was about 6 months in. I was just on a mission when I was there. I had all this experience as a professional athlete. And then I was also mature enough at the point where I didn't have any of that like young, dumb recklessness, in the sense that I'm trying to chase girls. I want to go out and party while also trying to be when you're a young college kid, somewhere between 18 to 22, you're serious about training and becoming a pro football player, but you're also, out having a good time. And at this point in my life, I was just, I'm not here to party. I'm not here to do anything but wrestle. So it was like 8 o'clock ring session, 3 hours, boom. You have like an hour and a half before you hit the gym. I got my meals packed with me. I'm eating my meals. I'm maybe watching a little bit of film. I get into the weight room, group session, we're training. I'm in there and I'm getting after it, right? I'm getting a great workout in. And then 2, it's like you're around, there's all this peacocking and ego, and I'm not going to let anybody outwork me. My whole thing was like, I'm going to outwork everybody, because I'm just going to, in my mind, I was just like, I will never let anybody outwork me. I'm going to just grind. I'm going to train harder than you in the ring. I'm going to give more effort in the ring. I'm going to train harder in the weight room. I'm going to train harder when it comes to writing promos and doing promos, and then extra ring sessions. I'm going to pick up every extra ring session that I can. And so it's, early on, it was, like I said, 8 a.m. ring session, 12 o'clock training or weight room session. Then we would have, there would be extra ring either around like 3 o'clock, or it would be like later after you would have promo class. So then you'd have promo class, hit promos, and then either you would have an extra ring session before or after if you went to that. And so like that was usually the typical day, Monday through Thursday. And then Thursday, you're doing the local, what they call the coconut loop, which would be like the local shows in Florida, right? You go to like Palaca, maybe Tampa, you do 3 shows, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday you would get probably 13 hours off, and that would be your day off. And then you'd come back Monday and do it again.
Wow.
And
I'm just checking out the chat here and see if we have any questions that answer out of the chat here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We got who are Dan's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? If you can't figure, I don't even know how many's on Mount Rushmore. Is that 4?
There's 4.
Is there
right?
4?
There's 4 presidents on there.
I mean, you don't really have to name. If you can name a few off the
Yeah.
top of your head that you either like growing up or began, seeing it in NXT or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my favorites were Brock Lesnar, Booker T. I was a big JBL fan. Big
Right.
JBL fan. The NWO. I always loved the NWO when I was younger. Scott and Kevin were super cool. To me, I thought they were super cool. And then as I got into the business, they were both cool to me as well. So that ended up being cool as well. I would say, so this would be my Mount Rushmore to me. These are the guys that I think are the most important to the business outside of like personal favorite. So Stone Cold, Steve Austin, I think is number 1. John Cena, Hulk Hogan, And then the fourth, I feel like you could go a lot of different ways, right? You could go a lot of different ways. There's Ric Flair is an easy one to go to. Ric Flair, in terms of just cultural, I think he entered the zeitgeist more than maybe any other wrestler, even more to Hulk Hogan. I think at Hulk Hogan's peak, he was, people in Japan knew Hulk Hogan, like all over the world, people know Hulk Hogan, right? But I don't know if Hulk Hogan has the same staying power in pulp culture as Ric Flair has, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
If that makes sense. So from those standpoints, I'd put that. I would put those four together.
No Rock, huh? Not the Rock.
I don't know. I don't think the Rock had. The Rock's great, right? He's awesome. I enjoyed him, but I don't think the Rock had as much. Just his run was a lot shorter. It was like 5 years. His run was. It was blazing hot. Yeah, obviously. But I don't think it, to me, those guys, Stone Cold saved the WWE, right? Ushered in a whole new era. To me, Cena, like his professionalism and his ability to get reactions over, however long his career was. And at a time where you could argue the business was going through a very transitional time, right? Like he caught the tail end of the golden days of pro wrestling, and then the transitional period into modern day wrestling. John Cena was like he was the bridge and kept everything very relevant. And John's ability to entertain people, to connect with people, to make everyone he got in the ring with look better than they actually were is like I don't know, second to none.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of people out there that bash Cena, but I just
no, he's incredible.
I don't know how people. Most of them probably have never been in the ring. Would be my guess, or the people that bash him. But I've heard a lot of other wrestlers put him over all the time, which I think it's personally undeniable. But you know how the wrestling fans are sometimes. Yeah, we've got actually a few questions on injuries. Did you have injuries? People are asking about how your body took to wrestling and if you had very many injuries.
I actually was pretty lucky while training, like wrestling. I mean, listen, I was beat up. You definitely are beat up. You definitely play hurt. I definitely had some things. I had a hernia that I had to get repaired. Elbow, stress fracture in the elbow. Partial tear in the ligament, tricep ligament, tendon, things like that. Ripped my nipple in half, you know what I mean? In some matches, busted nose, things like that. But nothing that really sidelined me other than the stress fracture in the elbow and the hernia sidelined me. But for the most part, I didn't miss too much. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't in pain. That's not to say that there wasn't some injuries.
Just listed like 7 things. You're like, not too bad, really.
But the thing is like I was hurt, not injured.
Yeah.
And this game, you have to be able to play hurt.
Yeah.
You have to be able to play hurt. And so you have to figure, and that's part of being a professional wrestler, is how am I going to perform with said injury? How am I going to train, keep my body sharp, right? How am I going to stay in shape, look respectable? How am I going to keep my structurally intact so I can perform and also keep the person I'm in the ring with safe? And at the end of the day, you can work around all of those injuries. If you have an injury, you can work around it. And that's where your mind has to come into place. That's where you have to adjust your training. That was like a big thing for me was when I first came into wrestling, I was training like I was playing football still, where I had an off season. And then about a year in, my body was like, hey man, we're ready for that off season.
Yeah, right.
But it's like, well, the schedule comes out and says there is not an off season. So it's like, okay, I've got to adjust my nutrition. I've got to adjust the way I train so that I don't injure myself, right? I'm going to get injured in the ring. just working the grind of the business, but I got to make sure that I'm not doing anything that is going to make me injured.
We have 2 more questions in here. Somebody wanted to know if there was anybody that you did not care to wrestle or work with that you would be willing to mention on this show today.
Mm.
You don't have to. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to.
I don't know if there was anybody. Look, you're going to work with people that you don't like. That's just life. All I care about is I'm an entertainer and I'm a professional. So like, if I'm going to be paid to do the job, I'm going to do the damn job. Are there guys that I liked working more than others? For sure. I can't think of anybody that I absolutely hated in terms of in-ring work. There's guys that I definitely didn't like. And there were some guys that I probably, have told like, hey man, let's go out into the parking lot and settle this. That may have happened a couple times in my time there. But in terms of people in the ring, I've never run into a problem with people in the ring. For the most part, everybody that I've worked with has been extremely professional.
A lot of times there'll be guys you don't really know them, but once you get in the ring and you have a match with them, now you got a little bond, and after you've worked with somebody, you're always closer with them because now you got something in common. But a lot of guys, and the guys that are stiff, all it does is teach you how to sell. Said, okay, he's stiff, so that motherfucker ain't going to touch me. So I'm overselling and everything. I'm creating space. I'm going to the floor. I'm a heel, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you learn. It's just like the way you think about wrestling, then 5 years in, you're thinking different. Yeah. All of a sudden, I've been this shit 40 some years, but 45 years, 46 years, whatever the hell it is. So you keep getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter, where you don't have to really do anything because you understand it so well. It's just unbelievable. And how your opinion changes on everything. I said, if I see that 3 clotheslines bump feet, I'm going to go fuck all you motherfuckers in the ass right away. Fuck you. Fuck you.
We're on YouTube live, Rip.
I know. Well, I did pretty good today. What's
Jesus,
fuck, right?
One of your worst days ever.
Is it? Okay. Well, hell, we've been on here long,
F you and the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only thing ever was really guys I just didn't agree with, like psychology wise. It was never really about being a dick or being stiffed or whatever. Just like, no, this shit makes no sense. That's the only people I didn't like.
Well, that's why you're a heel and you tell them to shut the fuck up and listen.
Well, that's
that's I ran into there's a few, one person I can think kind of just popped in my head particularly where it's like they're just thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting because I've had a little bit of time away from wrestling the past 2.5 years, 3 years, which is going to change here pretty soon. I can make that announcement here in a little bit, but to this point,
oh sweet, breaking news, Rip.
Breaking news. Live from the Rip Rogers podcast.
I love it.
I hope you get a job with AEW. How's
Don't
that?
ruin the surprise, Rip.
No, I did. I'm just dreaming. This thing right here.
One of the things that I've found that has been very helpful for me is, over these past 2.5 years, I've had some time away from it because sometimes we get too close to the thing, and so I've been able to evaluate my own work and see my shortcomings, what I could do better, what I need to do better, how to enhance as a performer. And another thing that happened, as great as, training at the Performance Center is, because 2 years at the Performance Center is it's a time warp because it's not like 2 years on the indies or anywhere else. There's nowhere else in the world you're training 2 to 3 times a day, every day for that much time. So your in ring time, your experience, it just skyrockets. But one of the negatives is everybody kind of wrestles the same. They do the same moves. They see each other do the same things. I've been guilty of it to an extent in the past. I think my size and a Rip and other people always being in my ear, like I have to work differently, and me always wanting to play to that kind of prevented me from doing that. But, you know, I'm guilty of doing some stupid shit that I probably shouldn't have done, or things that don't make as much sense for the type of character that I am. I think that that's one thing that we see is we all kind of do the same moves, right? And it's like we bump the same way, we give the clotheslines the same way. And it's like there's no rule saying that you have to bump flat back every time.
Right.
Like a flat back bump should be saved for a high impact collision where it makes sense to flat back. Sometimes you like that is the art of pro wrestling, is like how do you make your little nuances of movements different than everyone else's. That's why I love Booker T so much. Booker T could stand in the middle of the ring, and how he stood there was different than everybody else. How he would like run up to the ropes was different than everyone else's. And if you think, and it doesn't matter who your favorite wrestler is, your favorite wrestler, I guarantee if you watch them, they had these little mannerisms of how they punched someone, how they got punched, how they bumped, how they even ran the ropes was just different, something different to it. And I think that is sometimes the issue or a lot of times is the issue that people run into nowadays, is everyone's doing the same shit. Everyone's doing super kicks. Everyone's doing the same fucking springboards. Everyone's doing the same sequences in the matches. And, you know,
I couldn't agree with you more, man.
You don't
even
stand out when you do that.
The little stuff, like even watching Rip as a kid, like Rip running the ropes or taking a buckle, Michael Hayes, Jimmy Valiant, all those kind of flamboyant, they all were different, even at that time, than everybody else. And to me, that's what always stood out, the people that were in those little bitty things that maybe some people do or don't recognize. I don't know. I always seem to recognize them, I think. And I agree. I think different is definitely better. So we got another question or two, and then maybe we'll wrap up your NXT and then make the big announcement.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to finish this up about, I don't know, 9 or 10 minutes. I've got to get on the road. Not to cut you off. We were going to do that for about an hour anyway, but
yeah, perfect.
So if we could do that, we actually have a super chat that came in. Before this, actually, kind of going into what you just said a little bit, and somebody had another previous question. Was there anybody you based your character or your work? Did you steal from anybody, kind of mold your style after anybody? Was there anybody that before this question on the screen?
Yeah, I like a big fan of Brock Lesnar. As a young kid, what I loved about pro wrestling was big, huge jack guys with big personalities. And so I always liked that. I wanted to emulate that. And so the physical, being very physical, powerhouse style wrestler, that's what I want. That's what I love. That's what I want. I think that is what I bring to the circus, right?
Yeah, I went back and looked at some of your matches, man. I'm not sure I would want to have gotten in there with you.
But in terms of like character work, I always was a big fan of The Rock, and his obviously his charisma is undeniable, but like he was so outrageous, yet he was so serious, right? Like, I think what made him more outrageous is that he really believed and was really doing those things that he was saying and doing. I really love that. And I would always try and bring whatever that was in me to my promos, to the character work, to how I would walk to the ring, to how I would carry myself. Bruiser Brody was another guy that I would take stuff from. He was another big, imposing guy who moved really well. But sometimes when you move really well, you get into this camp where you start doing cartwheels and friggin' leapfrogs in your giant and massive person. It's like, well, we don't necessarily need. I know the crowd will react to that, right. But like just because the crowd is reacting to it doesn't mean that it's serving you.
Yeah, right.
You have
Which
to like
obviously.
how do you want to market yourself? I think a lot of times the bigger guys get caught up into wanting to be like the little guys, and yeah, it gets a reaction, but what does that do to you as a brand? Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think
The
sometimes
sword in the circus, the sword swallower isn't lifting 500 kilograms off the ground, and the strong man isn't going over to the trapeze artist and swinging off the ropes.
yeah,
It's like, keep that shit in mind. What is your niche?
Hey, in Kansas City, I was the boss. That was the territory. Brody's in. He's smoking dope. I'm working 4 weeks in a row with him. And I says, he goes, what are you going to do? I said, we'll just free ball it. We'll just work the count out. Said, okay. So we went out, and he's about legit 6'5", and he's got the gimmick boots on. Probably weighed 285 or whatever, because he was squatting heavy then. And he was just on me. So he beat the shit out of me for 20 minutes. And I said, he goes, you like that? I said, I thought you was smart. He said, what? I said, look how big you are. I weigh 212 pounds. You beat the shit out of me, and you couldn't beat me for 20 minutes. All you did was make me look tougher than shit, and the people were fucking turning because you look like a goddamn bully. He just fucking glared at me, right? And I said, well, I'll see you next week. So then the next week, I locked up with him and tossed and threw him off, and he went to a knee and like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I said, let's not go overboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But egos. Do what's right for the goddamn fucking business.
Right.
And don't worry, I'll tell you what you did it wrong. Been there, done that. Don't care about your reputation. A lot of the guys you think are great, they're not any good. A lot of the guys you think ain't any good, they're fucking great.
Right.
You know, it ain't real when you win, and it ain't real when you lose.
It ain't.
Get in, get out. Let's not get hurt, brother.
What would you do in that situation how would you do that match differently if it's 20 minutes, right? You're working the count out and you're Brody. How would you have done that differently rather than just beat you up the entire time, Rip?
Oh no, everybody expects him to kick the shit out of me.
Right.
So he would be doing just the opposite of what he fucking did. He could have started something. I'd be the biggest chicken shit all the fucking time. I'd fucking get out of the fucking ring. He'd fucking chase me around. As he got through, then I'd cut him off. Boom. I'd start to get heat on him, but he's still too fucking strong. And when in doubt, move. I had him hurt his goddamn fucking leg. Now the fucking height thing don't make any difference. And I'd make that son of a bitch I'd be on that motherfucker so much, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it's all what you're trying to portray. Because I knew I was working 4 weeks with him. He finally beat me on the last week. I said, what happened? Ox Baker pushed me off the top turnbuckle. I took the bump. Brody hit me with his fucking finish. He got out of the fucking ring. I got up, and all I could talk about was that son of a bitch, Ox Baker. That motherfucker pushed me off. It was none of his goddamn business. Get his big lard ass back in here, and let's see what happens. Then I worked with Ox Baker 4 weeks. But anyway, there's ways in and out, and it's a work. Let's do it together. Let's not get fucking hurt, live to fight another fucking day. Because no matter what, we love this motherfucking business. We don't want to have a goddamn real motherfucking job. You know, we like acting like we're over. We're all in our own little worlds. And let's just love the business and have a good time.
You know what I have been leading into matches, and then also, you know, though I haven't been wrestling the past 2 years, I have been, you know, performing in other ways, right? Theater, film, voiceover, a lot of work like that. My mantra is, how can I make my scene partner, how can I elevate them? How can I make them look great? And I think if and this is something that I'll carry into wrestling, but I think if more people came into a match with how can I make my opponent look great, you would have unbelievable matches.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's what Rip did. Made a career out of it, man. Like making people look good. So there's definitely something for that.
Yeah.
All right, we got this last super chat question. You have the look and the size. The Samoa Joe match was shocking and memorable. Robert Stone would have been a great manager or get a hot diva manager. Did you have a Samoa Joe match that was memorable?
Yeah, very early on in my time at NXT, they pitched. Joe had just came into the company, and they were making Joe look like the world beater that he is, and so they needed some giant, jacked guy for him to kind of run through. So they put some vignettes together for like 2 weeks and ran it like it was like my real debut. And then I debuted and went out and Joe enhanced himself in the match.
Got it.
But Joe was awesome. Joe is a guy who I've learned quite a bit from in the business, from either him and I just talking or me just watching how he operates and handles himself both backstage and in the ring.
So let's go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug. And we also wanted to get this big announcement. I mean, you're going to do a breaking news big announcement right here live on this show. Is that what I'm gathering here today?
Yeah. So the
big first, or did they go together?
What, the big announcement?
The big announcement or plugs? Do you have anything to plug? Where can people find you? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can find Dan Matha on every social media site. You can find me. I'm on all of them. You can type in Dan Matha. You can find me. In terms of things to plug, I mean, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I train people in person. I train people online as well. If you're interested in those services, you go to any of my socials. I have a link in a bio where you can find all that stuff. More importantly, the announcement is.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Okay.
Drum roll. I will be having my first wrestling match back January 13th at Magnus Pro Wrestling in Omaha, Nebraska.
All right.
That's a Saturday, 7:00. I'm there.
Omaha?
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. Magna Pro Wrestling. Do you know your opponent?
It's not official yet. Who the opponent is. So I don't want to say who it most likely is going to be. That, the card is always subject to change. So I had asked them about that. They hadn't officially made the card yet. The card, the flyer, I was told should be out tonight or tomorrow, but not officially. So I don't know who the opponent will be, but I will be promoting that all over my social media the next couple of weeks.
Okay, when's the official date?
Well, the return is January 13th.
January 13th.
January 13th. Okay.
So is this, you said you've been out of the ring for a while. You're getting back in. Is this something you're getting back into? Like you want to make another run at a full-time, sign me somewhere?
Yeah. I mean, I am not putting any, these past 3 years have been a wild 3 years for me. Right. For a lot of people, right? Pandemic happened. I was in a car accident where I was ejected through the front window of my car. Got released by the WWE like 2 weeks after that. And so my body was beat up mentally, emotionally. I was just beat up and bitter about the situation. Felt like I was, kind of left for dead by the company. And just was like kind of over. I was like, fuck wrestling. I'm moving on. But every couple weeks, months, I'd like wake up and I'd just be thinking about wrestling, thinking about spots. And then a couple of days would go by and I'd talk myself. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm done. I'm not doing this. And, it's easy to talk yourself out of stuff. And then about 5 months ago, I woke up and I just was like, I can't shake this thing. And I have this skill set and this desire. And like Rip has been saying, I'm just entering the prime of my life as a man. And so it's like, I don't want to throw that. I'm not just letting, if I died, I would look back and regret not pursuing this. So I'm back, what that looks like, where I get signed. That's, I have no idea. I don't know any of those things. And to be honest with you, I'm coming back for the love of wrestling. I want to wrestle. I want to perform. I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times that's where it happens. You come back for the love of wrestling and then you get seen, signed. That's where you can get back in. Hey, do you want to elaborate at all on what you said about anything about the car wreck or WWE leaving you for dead, so to speak? Anything you want to elaborate on that? You don't have to. I'm just asking if you.
Yeah. So the car accident was just a wild experience, right? It's like 1 second you're on top of the world. I'm, in the WWE. I'm making great money. I'm living a rock star lifestyle. No kids. I'm single. I'm enjoying myself.
All right.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you earlier, have you ruined your life with the woman of your dreams yet?
No, I have not.
Well, you're fucking awesome, man.
I keep you in the back of my mind, Rip. I keep you in the back of my mind. And I just literally a Saturday evening at 7 p.m. I went to pick up some end tables, and on the way home, I'm approaching this intersection in a random part of Florida I'd never been. And I'm like, this is a weird intersection. And then the next second I'm waking up and I'm on the concrete and there's 3 people standing over top of me and an ambulance in the distance. And I go to get up and this like lady grabs my face like this and is like pleading for me to like lay down. And then that memory slips through the grate. And the next memory that comes through, I'm on a stretcher getting put into the back of an ambulance. And the paramedic is telling me that I was ejected through the front window of the car and he thinks my neck is broken.
Holy shit.
And so, I have a neck brace, a harness. My forehead is strapped and everything is just strapped down to a board. And as somebody who's literally their entire life has been provided to them, essentially, my livelihood is based around my body. It was really, to be honest with you, I was terrified.
Yeah.
And it was just like there was just like this moment where I was like, holy fuck, is everything over? As I know it, is life as I know it over? And so they rushed me to Orlando Trauma, got me there, ran a stick, poked, prodded, ran every test known to man. And they pull me out of a CAT scanner. A doctor comes in a little bit later and he just goes, dude, I don't know who you are or where you're from, but there's nothing wrong with you.
Wow.
Holy shit.
He was like, you got a nasty gash on the back of your head. I put 5 staples in there. He's like, you got some road burn down the left side of your body. Your elbow's kind of jacked up, but no brain bleeding, no ruptures, no breaks, no tears, and your pelvis is intact.
Wow.
And then, they kept me overnight. I woke up the next morning. They did some more tests and they released me at 11:30 a.m. and I walked out of there.
Wow. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to elaborate on the WWE at all?
Yeah. It's tough.
They may want to re-sign you. And I know Vince, well, I guess Vince isn't in charge anymore. I know they all watch this show every week. So
look, man, the WWE is who the WWE is. Like, to be mad about how they operate would be to like be mad that a dog ate your food when you left the plate unattended. Like, that's what the dog's going to do. And it was, it was right when the pandemic happened. So maybe it was a part of the pandemic releases. Maybe it wasn't. I was, in the middle of trying to, contract dispute with them. And my contract was running up and I was in a place of leverage. And then the pandemic happened and I got into the accident and then I no longer had leverage. They had the leverage and they exercised their leverage.
Got it.
It was a lesson in business, right? It's just the way shit works. Honestly, it's the best thing. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. The car accident was like it was a gift. because like more than ever, I believe that I am here for something, right? You run that thing through a simulator a million times, and there's only one instance where I'm here talking to you guys, right? And it's like, okay, like I'm here and I'm here for something, and I haven't fulfilled that yet. And so I'm out here searching. I've been searching. I think I'm here living my purpose in my life. And so I'm here to give it all away. Cool, and not just as a wrestler, right? Other aspects of my life as well. Because it's like, if you want to be an interesting wrestler, you have to be an interesting person. And to be an interesting person, you have to have life experiences. And I think that that's what a lot of young entertainers run into today. Not just wrestlers, actors, of sorts as well too. And it's just like, yo, man, nobody's going to give a shit about your performance because you don't have any life experience. Like you need to go out and fail. You need to go out and travel the world. You need to have lovers, right? You need to be scorned and scorned, right? You need to fuck up, and you need to like triumph. You need all of those things to really to like season yourself and to be somebody of substance. So I have no hard feelings towards the company. They gave me 5 great years. If I never wrestled again, that time with the WWE made me into the man I am. You know how much money they poured into me over 5 years and time that they poured into me? Like I've been able to start as soon as I got out of the business and I decided to start my own company, like my own business. I was able, boom, right away, do that. I did that with a lot of the skills that I learned from the WWE.
Hey, I'm not saying it, man. You mentioned something, so I just wanted
it's just we were talking about it, and and on paper it does look shady, and it probably is shady, but also at the same time, it's like,
you still got a lot out of it.
Oh, dude, invaluable time. I think that's what people don't realize is like the place is an incubator, right? Now you might have to deal with some emotional trauma dealing with that place, but pros and cons, you can't have it all.
All right, dude, I got to give you the Iggy. We got to get out of here, but man, really appreciate your time. You were awesome.
He was on fire, baby.
On fire. You're good at this stuff, man.
Hey, it was easy to talk to you guys, and I appreciate you having me on your show, Rip. When you asked me, because I've had some other people ask me to come on their show, and I haven't been really wanting to come on podcasts and talking and shit, really. But you asked me, and I was like, yo, I'm there for you, Rip. Whatever you need, brother. I always got your back. I love you, and I appreciate you, and I'm happy to be on here, talk with you.
Damn. Do I owe you money?
No. You're good. You're good with me, man. You're good in my book.
Thanks for coming on here, Danny. You were an asset to the business, and hopefully this next run with no pressure on you, it'll just float right into place. You won't be nervous. You'll just fucking chuckle. Once you learn how to goddamn work and you know how to work your fucking character, when it all comes into place, holy shit. All of a sudden, I understand it. And that usually happens a lot of times. So good luck with everything. We'll keep in touch. And then I'll get with you about getting a clip or maybe coming on short before the thing so you can plug the fucking your show or whatever in Nebraska. This and that, particulars, this and that. Good luck with everything. Thanks for coming on today, and just kick ass, kid. Do you still live in Orlando?
No, I'm in Atlanta now.
Okay, Atlanta. Okay, I used to live in Hapeville out there by the airport.
Yeah, not too far from me.
Okay, I'm right
in Midtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. Anyway, you were great. I look like Santa Claus, and have a good day, love.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Later.
See you, bud. We didn't do the music.
We didn't. All right.